Welcome to Fan4Racing Radio. I'm Fan4Racing Sharon, and joining me right now is Chris Crichton. But Jay is going to be joining us shortly as well. He is en route and has already notified me that he's going to be a few minutes late. So I thought maybe Chris and I would go ahead and get things rolling here on Hot Topic Sound Off. And Chris, why don't you choose our first topic? Well, the first topic has to be, how is the racing at Sonoma? Let's start with that.
Yeah.
We had three races, ARCA, Xfinity, and Cup.
Did you catch the ARCA race?
I did.
That was an exciting race. I really enjoyed the ARCA coverage.
Yes.
I think that play-by-play guy, he was really good, and can't wait to see. I don't even know his name, but I can't wait to watch him. I believe he's got the ability to maybe wind up on a major network before too long. I know he's a Flow Racing announcer. I've heard his voice before. I'm not sure if it was from another ARCA race or what, but I really enjoyed his broadcast. He kind of was on his own there through most of it that I watched. But look, the end of that race was crazy. They had that last caution, and William Sawallich got passed, or he went off into the grass or something, and two cars got ahead of him. But by the end of it, he was able to regain that lead, which is something that doesn't typically happen at Sonoma, right? I think that we've seen Sonoma for what it truly is in the Xfinity Series race. And then in the Cup race, we just had two back-to-back unusual situations happen that really put the pressure on SVG. Look, Sharon, we could do a whole show about what Shane Van Gisbergen has done.
It's amazing
how he shook the core of NASCAR right now. Like, we have not had a driver of his ability come into our sport ever, I don't think. I know that it simplifies itself by saying he's a road course racer, but we've seen road course racers come into sport before. This guy is something unbelievably special. And I don't know what you feel like the world impact is of NASCAR, but that was my main concern, right? When we were talking about the bracket and we were leading up to the bracket, I was like, guys, it's going to be terrible if Shane Van Gisbergen isn't in this thing, because he's liable to go on this crazy tear. And then everybody's bracket would be essentially useless, because Shane Van Gisbergen would truly be the guy going in to the final stages here, because nobody would have beat him over the last few races that we've had. I think that when we look back on what SVG has done so quickly, we'll never see another driver come in and be able to take NASCAR by storm the way he is. Now, look, will he go on to win a championship? I doubt it. Will we see a lot more engineering efforts into making him a quality playoff driver? Absolutely. You got to throw all the cards in the table for SVG.
He's going to make us better.
I feel sorry for Suarez, when it's all said and done, because if he's been if they've gone in and pillaged his race team right now, you can only imagine what they'll do for the rest of the season as they try to stack SVG with as many engineers and whatnots on his car to get him to the possibly the final 8, even maybe the final 4. When you set yourself with 3 victories and you're tied with everybody else in the standings right now with the most wins, I think that's very significant as we go off into the playoff system. So I don't know about you, Miss Sharon, but I was impressed this week. I was intrigued. I'm not typically intrigued by a road course. I think the whole idea that he had 2 poles and 2 wins made you want to watch this one just to see if we could get a 3-peat. And, unlike football, a three-peat happened here in NASCAR. And I think that it should be honored and looked at as this guy does deserve his place in the playoff system. I don't agree with all these road course races. I'm not a road course racing fan. But what Shane Van Gisbergen has been able to do, the eyes that are on NASCAR right now because of what he's done, and Red Bull, an iconic world brand. I talk about Michael Jordan and the significance that it is for him to be in this sport. And it's because of the Jumpman brand. Like, that is the most iconic brand in the world. It's as significant as Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola. It's as significant as any other brand that you can come out with. Red Bull fits that. Everybody in the world drinks Red Bull. And for that car to be in victory lane this week, I think is the hidden gem that gives NASCAR a catapult into other regions that we wouldn't necessarily have found ourselves in. And look, I'm glad that I was long-winded. I'm glad that Miss Sharon started out things with me, because everything I've said is absolutely useless when this guy comes on, because he won't agree with anything I say. So with that being said, I'll just pass the baton to Miss Sharon, since I had a long and drawn-out opening segment, and then Miss Sharon can actually start the show from this point on.
Okay, and while Jay gets himself set up, I'll go ahead and give my thoughts. We're talking about our thoughts about the racing at Sonoma this weekend. They had ARCA West, Xfinity, and Cup Series, and you made a comment about SVG, so I'm going to pull it up here because I think it's significant to one of the things that you commented on. Somebody said SVG is the best road course ringer the sport has ever seen. He's passed Ambrose, Allmendinger, said, Fellows, etc. Obviously, Allmendinger's better overall. Mike Joy responds back and says, not yet. Dan Gurney had 5 wins in 9 starts at Riverside, California, and finished top 5 in the Daytona 500. Dan won everywhere except Indy in everything he drove: NASCAR, Trans Am, Can-Am, IndyCar, F1, and Le Mans. So Dan Gurney probably had a little bit faster start, but I think when it comes to road courses, I have to agree. Was Riverside a road course? Jay, do you know if Riverside, it was a road course? Okay. But 5 wins in 9 starts. So that was pretty impressive. So do I think that SVG has been really fun to watch coming into NASCAR? I think he has been a lot of fun to watch. And I think that even when he's winning, I don't have SVG fatigue yet. I know that can happen if he keeps winning, but right now it's a lot of fun to watch him. And I especially enjoyed the Xfinity Series race. SVG still had a great race. It's just that Connor Zilisch was right there. And one of the things that I loved about both of their interviews afterwards is they talked about how well they raced cleanly with one another. They could have did a bump and run or a dump and run, as Jay calls it, and they didn't. They raced very cleanly. Was there bumping and banging? Yeah, sure there was, but they didn't take each other out of the race. And to me, that makes a huge difference. And to me, it shows a lot of their skill as well when they don't have to dump somebody in order to get that win. So, and the finish in the ARCA Menard Series West race was absolutely phenomenal. 3 wide for that finish was incredible. I really enjoyed that. And then in the Cup Series, to watch SVG make it 3 wins on the season, even though he's 26th in the point standings, I thought that was fantastic to watch as well. And I hope everybody does appreciate just how fantastic it is watching us, Shane Van Gisbergen, race these road courses. And I'm going to have fun watching him as he develops on the ovals as well, because I do think that he will be developing and getting better on the ovals too. and that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I've heard some people say that they don't think SVG should be in the playoffs. I don't agree to that statement. I think he's deserves to be in the playoffs. He has 3 wins, and even though there's drivers that are ahead of him that don't have 3 wins, there's plenty of drivers up at the top that do have 3 wins, and he deserves to be in these playoffs just as much as anybody else, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm happy to see him there. So Jay, first of all, welcome.
Okay.
Radio.
Thank you. I think I'm here now. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'm here.
Okay. So what are your overall thoughts about the 3 races out at Sonoma Raceway this weekend?
I wish I'd have heard what Chris had to say so I could disagree with him. No, I thought they were good. There are some things to look at. I know listening to Sirius XM on the way home of, the back-to-back 3 in the last 5 weeks being road courses. So that kind of combines to what you call, and I don't know if that's where you picked it up, the SVG fatigue. On top of that.
From Jimmy Johnson. I had Jimmy Johnson.
Okay. And that happens, and you're right, it happened with Jimmy Johnson. What I don't understand is how come we don't see that with Kyle Larson? And he runs in multitude of other series, So why do we not see that when it comes to Kyle Larson? And I don't know the answer to that. But I think you're right. You just got to appreciate the greatness that we're seeing. He can be beat. You hit on something there with Connor Zilic, as well as Chase Briscoe on the Cup side. I mean, they bumped, they banged, they pushed, they nudged, but they didn't take each other out, and they were both thrilled with the battle they had on the other side of it. I think back to Sharon, you and I got to witness it at Chicagoland, Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch. Everybody was in the garage waiting to see them fight because they had been slamming on the track. And they said, no, that was hard racing, and we enjoyed it. Yes. I think back to Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch obviously not as thrilled as he was on the short end of him and Craven's deal at Darlington for what was at the time, the longest time, the closest race in NASCAR history. They too, said, hey, that's hard racing, and we are thrilled to be a part of it. But overall, I thought it was some great racing. Again, are there too many road courses right in a row? Possibly. Are there too many on the schedule? Yeah, you could make that argument if you want, but I got no problem with it because I think it does provide for some great racing. Again, even when one driver can beat you by 16 seconds, okay, the race for the lead may not have been the best as we had at Mexico City, but there were some circumstances that brought that about. Ty Gibbs had an issue this past weekend. The morning show likes to call it their checkers, black flag, green flag, checkered flag, black flag. I'd have to give my black flag to Chase Elliott because they put him in a position. I know he wanted green flag laps and he wasn't getting it, but then pushed a little hard, slid off the track, and then had to fight to maintain. Kind of. And whether or not he had a shot at SVG, don't know. Again, that was it definitely took it away from him. But overall, the mix of strategies, we saw that. Some got bit in the butt by it, and some made it work. Some made it be a good day, if you will. So I thought it was great all the way around. There was something I was going to come back to on the second round that you had mentioned. I don't remember what it was. Maybe I'll think of it by the time we come back around. So I'll go back over to Chris. Give me something I can argue with.
Okay, Chris, did you sent me something? Are we putting this up on the screen?
No. The significance of that is
Let me get it because.
And this is the old Winston Cup 2025, where they would set points if we did the original point system that we had. And if you look, he's 24th in points.
Still people doing that?
Yeah, people are still doing it. Yeah,
we have champions going all the way back to when they changed it to a chase format. You would be surprised at the names that were on that list and how many how many championships Kevin Harvick was squeezed out of because of this playoff system. I think that's probably but not to leave topic too far off. Look, even the guy's 24th in standings. He's not a terrible race car driver. Of course, 3 wins will help him catapult up the standings quickly. But this is not the first time we've had a guy with multiple wins sitting somewhere in 20th position. I believe Logano probably would have been the last person that we may have seen similar stats with, but maybe not here recently. I don't know if this is really too much significance. I just wanted it to be seen that, 24th in points. It's not like he's running 32nd. 3 wins, of course, has really helped him. Now, whatever SVG's done to this point, what we're going to watch from here on forward is how he adapts to these other racetracks now, right?
Yes.
Will he have speed at St. Louis? Will he have speed in Dover? Will he have speed maybe at the plate tracks? And see exactly how far up. He doesn't have to win these races. He just needs to run good. He needs to run top 15. I think that we were seeing throughout the last few races leading up to these road courses that he was improving. He was running in the top 20. He was running in the top 15. And so, whatever your opinion is of SVG before now, remember, he is still a rookie. And most of the time, dynamic drivers improve by 100% in the second halves of their first season. So this guy was thrown into a race car after only 1 full season in Xfinity. It took him a minute, and we should not be surprised that he is to the level that he is, and it just shows the impact of the actual race car driver inside him. We've had road course ringers for a long time, and look, Miss Sharon, just to back up what you said about the Riverside win, that was a completely different era. That was a completely different time. It was really a different car at the time. For SVG to come into this sport and race at a racetrack where most of the field has a lot of experience racing, and that is Sonoma, and for SVG to have the same results there that he's had in the other two should really show the significant advantage that this man brings to the competition. Now, the greatest thing about this is with him impacting our sport the way he is, you're going to see other drivers become better road course racers because of him, because you're going to have to beat him.
Yep.
And I think that's the fun when you're sitting at the table. And I don't know if you've shot pool with some pretty big hot shots, or you've maybe played poker with some pretty big shots. You want to bring your A game to that. And so when you're at the table with this guy named SVG, you're going to put forth your best effort to try to beat him, which will be better than the effort would be if you were SVG yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can pull out. Look, I think this guy's half throttling through the race course. It's unbelievable. Like, the car stays almost a perfect length from behind him. It's like this guy, he's probably half throttle, only giving part of his best and really just separating himself from the field. Miss Sharon, I get blushed about this guy. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I am and it's completely off center of who I normally am, because I'm really a traditionalist, and I love a guy who's had to work his way from the bottom to the top. We don't have too many of those drivers anymore. Joey Logano was one of the last guys, I think, that come into the sport that really had to earn his way. SVG has been given kind of a red carpet because of his talent. But to see it on this level and this type of success, man, I'm not going to deny the fact that Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. I'm not going to deny the fact that Michael Jordan won 6 championships. You got to get homage to homage when homage is due. And, baby, I'm telling you, SVG, he's the man right now. Sharon.
He is definitely the man right now. I do want to bring up another graphic here. This is the last lap. Let's see if it'll play. I might have to bring it. Oh, yeah. This is the last lap in the ARCA Menards West Series. And I got to tell you, it was fantastic to watch as these guys were coming to that finish line. Here you see the number 16 is out front. And then they all pull up together. Sawalich is in there And look at what he does. It's amazing how he got himself up to the front in front of those two guys.
Yeah,
Isn't that incredible?
Is it not that he finished third, I believe, in the Xfinity race? So there's no fluke. Like there was Connor Zilich, SVG, and William Swalich. That's your top three in Xfinity. So the guy, he's another guy that, hey, look, if he races his entire career behind Shane Van Gisbergen, then he's going to be better than most of the other drivers because he's got that much longer time to mimic. I heard Denny Hamlin and maybe a couple of other drivers say, look, they're just already too old into their career to change their way of driving to match what SVG has already learned and perfected over his lifetime. So we already have the old school, the older cats that are saying, hey, look, he's the man. He's the man at these road courses.
He is definitely the man. There were a couple things here that I wanted to respond to. I'm just trying to find my bookmarks. I've bookmarked so many things on what I want to talk about here. I did see something from Chase Briscoe. You mentioned him and the fact that he came in second to SVG. He said he thought about trying to pass him, but he was convinced that if he did get past him cleanly, that SVG was just going to pass him back. He didn't have the confidence that he was going to be able to stay out front, that he felt that SVG would just do a crossover and be right back out in front of him anyway. So he kind of contented himself with being in second place. But trust me, you are absolutely right when you say that these drivers are going to learn from him, from racing behind him and watching him, because SVG is so smooth on that racetrack, as is Connor Zilich. Watching the two of them go back and forth was super exciting. But people are going to learn from these drivers, and they are going to get better. Just like when we first started going road course racing, they brought in the ringers and they started hiring ringers to be driver coaches for all of these drivers, and they got better at being road course racers. So I do think that that's great. I want to point out we've got All Sports All Day is here tonight with us. Hello, All Sports All Day. It's good to have you here. Give us some of your thoughts about the racing at Sonoma this weekend. We'd love to hear from you. And Jay, thank you so much for responding back to that. That's awesome. But anyway, I just think that the drivers are going to get better. He's good for this sport. He's good for the drivers because they can up their game. He has raised the bar, and I think that's going to be a benefit to the fans as well. We're going to get better road course racing when people catch up to Shane Van Gisbergen and Connor Zilich, for that matter, because he was able to beat him on the road course. So All Sports All Day says, unbelievable ARCA West race, one of the best races I have ever seen. That was an incredible finish to that race. And I agree with you. It was one of the best races we've seen. So thank you for responding, All Sports All Day. And I'm going to pass the baton over to Jay. Your last thoughts on racing.
Says West had arguably the best racing of any NASCAR sanctioned series. There's certainly an argument to be made for that. I know I listened to the Xfinity race on Sirius XM on Saturday. I haven't gotten a chance to actually watch the full race yet. I was hearing the same thing about that Xfinity series race, that it was one of the best Xfinity series races on a road course. So I do think there's a place. I know there's some people screaming again of, go back to only 2 road courses or not any. Yeah, again, I'm not even going to go into that of fans week to week. Going with a couple of things. Do I think SVG is very great on the road course? Yes. I think people are making a mistake, though, by trying to compare to yesteryear drivers of certain things. But I will acknowledge, Chris, you pointed it out. He's a rookie in the Cup Series this year. He only had 1 year of Xfinity and then some limited Cup Series starts. He's already on the oval tracks. First 8 races of the season on ovals, had a near 30 place average finish. In the next 8 oval races, he had improved 8 positions on average finish now. He was up to 22nd as far as average finish. And that's just in the first 8 races versus the next 8 races. Think about now, second half of the season, like Chris said. But going back to some of the stats that people are trying to compare to make him the greatest of all time. He is the greatest right now. He's proven that. You can't argue that. But to say all time, well, he's got X number of wins and X number of starts. You got to look at the time, and I'm going to use Jeff Gordon. For Jeff Gordon to get 10 victories on road courses, even if he won them all in a row, that would have taken 5 years because they only had 2 tracks, Sonoma and Watkins Glen. Okay, so the opportunity to get more wins on road courses, we have 6 or 7 this year. You got to be careful about comparing stats when it comes to something like that. And if you've heard any of SVG's comments when they interview him and ask him about that, he says it. I don't think about those things. I think about, hey, there's a track in front of me. I'm going to go out and I'm going to beat the other cars that are on the track. That's what I think about. They talked about doing the weekend sweep, and that put him with Kyle Busch. The record he tied with Jeff Gordon for 3 road course wins in a row now. He said it's an honor to be mentioned with some of these greats, but I don't think about that. So I feel like he's very humble when it comes to that in his interviews and whatnot. But I am looking forward to how he improves even more on the ovals and that. The one thing I wanted to go into a little bit, try and do real quick, talking about whether or not he should be in the playoffs because he's winning on road courses only. I'm going to buy into that. I'm going to buy into that. You win on a road course, shouldn't get in the playoffs. Oh, if you only win on a super speedway, you shouldn't get into the playoffs. Austin Cindric's out. Chase Elliott, he's out of the playoffs because he only won on a super speedway style track and everybody wrecked. Who won because it was rain shortened? They're out. Where do you draw the line? Every race pays the same amount of points, the same amount of wins. No, SVG, if you haven't caught on, I was being facetious. You want to draw a line. Well, it's a road course. Okay, if you're a great short track racer and you win at Martinsville, well, that don't count. Ross Chastain, he only won because it was a 600-mile race. If it had been a 500-mile race, he wouldn't have won. He shouldn't be in. I mean, come on, people. I'm going to quit before I get in trouble.
You make a good point. A couple of other points here that All Sports All Day is making. He says, great point. Give SVG a few more years before we go into the greatest of all time conversation. Really good point. On the Xfinity Series side, he said Xfinity was really good, though the only real battle for the lead was for the lead. I'd give the race a 7 out of 10, but throughout the field, the battles weren't great. Let's
That's
see.
Fair.
He said, if we're going to have 6 road courses, if a driver wins 3, we better not say they don't deserve playoffs. Well, I 100% agree with that.
Absolutely.
I agree with all of his statements there. I agree with you, Jay. He has 3 wins. Yes, he's 26 in the points, but he has the 3 wins compared to some other folks that don't have any wins that are up in the top 16. So I think that that's fantastic. I think we're seeing some really great things. But let's go on to the next topic, unless you have one more thing to say, Chris.
I'm good. He's the
You're
greatest
good?
of all time already. He is.
Okay.
Maybe somebody greater later on, but right now he is the greatest of all time. Nobody else.
Jay,
has
have
done
you
what he's ever
reviewed the
done.
topics, and do you know where you want to go next?
Sure.
I'll go first. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this one I know came out earlier, and Sharon, I'm glad you remembered it. NASCAR has officially said they will return to Bowman Gray in 2026. I think we all expected it. We didn't see how they would change it up after one great race there this year. Again, we talk about they kind of do things in 3-year plans. So they will be back at Bowman Gray, and I'm excited for it, but see what y'all think.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the spectacle, right? You're at Bowman Gray for one thing, and that's to rub fenders. It's not going to be a points-paying race. It's got to be either, the Clash or the All-Star race. I would probably – it's going to be tough to bet that we have good weather again for another February event, but, we pulled it off last time. If it's going to be the Clash, I think, honestly, North Wilkesboro deserves a cup date. I think we've discussed this here, and the Clash should move into the All-Star event. Limited seats would create a sellout crowd. You would have people who've paid real good money for those tickets, so the place would be on fire. And maybe we would see an up and ante of the payout, because $1 million isn't the same that it was in 1993 or 92. The significance of being back at another racetrack where the roots were created is very good for our sport. The problem to it is you have to manufacture pit stops and everything else into this, and there could not be any competitive pit stops. If there can't be competitive pit stops, then this can only be looked at as an exhibition race or a non-points paying race. You can't give points to a 22-car field. And that gets specialized breaks in the middle of it. I think that's fallen too far off character. So, however NASCAR uses this as a promoting tool, I'm down for. But I feel like this would be a lot better event as the All-Star event, replacing North Wilkesboro, than it would be to continue to pray for good weather in the middle of February, the 1st of February, before we go to Daytona and the Clash. Your thoughts, Sharon?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to point out that All Sports Are All Day, and I really love the interaction that we're having with him tonight. I like Bowman Gray, though in the future I would love to try a Clash at a Southern dirt track. I think that would be cool, and it's just an idea. And Jay loves it because he's a dirt track guy. So I think
we like it. We like it, right, Chris?
So yes, definitely. The weather can be an issue at Bowman Gray. I get that point. But it wasn't an issue last year when they had it at Bowman Gray, and it was an exhibition race. With 40 cars on the track, I love the heat races, the way that they did it with the heat races. I wouldn't want to see heat races necessarily every week, but to have heat races at a track like Bowman Gray, I think is really important. To have that for our Clash and exhibition race to kind of get the season started. I think that's great. But I love All Sports All Day's idea as well of bringing in something in the southern states where you talked about the weather, Chris. That would be a great idea to maybe do it on a dirt race. Maybe that's where we have the dirt race, is during an exhibition race. It would be something different. It would be something fun. We could have heat races, just like we talked about with Bowman Gray and some of the other tracks that we've gone to. I think that's a great idea, and something that I hope NASCAR is considering for a future race. So, Jay, what are your thoughts?
And obviously, I'm all in favor of trying a dirt thing again. I thought the Bristol experiment was good. They learned from it and they improved upon it. When they took it away, I didn't raise heck. They had done it 3 years. I appreciated the 3 years they did it. Chris will attest to this. If we're talking February for the Clash, we have tried in years past to get some February races in down here. The weather is not exactly cooperative in the South here during that time frame either. So, but I do like that. Dave Moody on Sirius XM likes to have Wild Rear Friday Idea Day. I did call in on one of those as long as they were throwing them out. This was back when the All-Star race was at Charlotte, and they were starting to look at how can we mix it up a little, make some improvements, do some different things that you're not going to do in any kind of points paying race. My idea was you have the Charlotte dirt track there, have them qualify, heat race on the dirt tracks, and then come over, however they finished on the dirt track, then come over and transfer over and run their cup cars in that order. Because you knew it would be mixed up, because the guys that run good on the asphalt don't necessarily run good on dirt. So that was kind of my wild idea that day. And I admit it was a wild idea. I think the other one I had was cannonball run style. You start them, all the drivers in Daytona, you got to get to Charlotte. You get caught by the cops, you're going to be a little late. So, but whoever got to Charlotte at the door first got to be the pole sitter. I mean, but yeah, I do think that the Clash
Day likes your idea, Jay.
Volusia is a good track too. Absolutely. Volusia is a good track. Been a while since I've been there. Yeah, I think you would have to look in the Florida area as far as that dirt track. And that is the one thing, and I said, going back to the Bristol dirt race, just like I said with the Rovals, they turned out to be good. I get it. But there are some true, genuine tracks out there. Eldora, Knoxville, Volusia might be one big enough for cup cars. There you got
Legs. Is Five Flags big enough?
But that's not dirt track. That's asphalt.
Oh, that's asphalt. You're right. Right.
But as far as being, I know, talking about that, say we do 3 years or so at Bowman Gray, a couple I heard get thrown out there that I would love to see would be, again, they're kind of in your still rooted area of the Southeast, but Myrtle Beach and South Boston.
Ooh, good ones.
Yeah. Again, could it be done? We've seen it. You can't say nothing can't be done in this day and age. Yeah, obviously Eldora and Knoxville, not in February. I'd like to see them do it at a true dirt track, not a man-made one. Like I said, they did a great job. I go to the Dome every year. They do the dirt race in December in the Dome in St. Louis. It's not great. It's good. We go as a family. It's entertainment. The racing is not great. The track is not great, but you deal with it. Everybody's in the same boat. That's what you run into when you create, like they had at Bristol. They had some issues with the way the track was because it isn't made or naturally made dirt track. It's building a track on top of the asphalt. But like I said, I appreciate that NASCAR did it. They did it for 3 years, and then they took it away, or they opted to move away from it. I would have liked to have seen it continue, but I wasn't going to be mad at them because they gave us 3 years of some sort of dirt racing. So I appreciate the fact that they're trying that. We'll see what happens down the road. But for now, it's staying at Bowman Gray, and I'm all in favor of that because it's great, good racing. You're not going to get the mayhem, or what is it, Chris? The madhouse action. Again, NASCAR is not going to go that route, I don't think. But
well, why are we there? Of course, it's the madhouse. That's the name of it, and that's what NASCAR wants to promote a whole entire season. Start their season out with a big promo. That's the whole idea of being there at Bowman Gray Stadium. I don't know why we would not be there for the madhouse effect. It is a tiny, tiny bull ring. If we want to talk about a good clash, we have Five Flags Speedway right there in Pensacola, Florida, and it's big enough to have competitive pit stops. To take it. I love the idea of dirt and joining speed weeks, but what do we bring? Do we bring the cup car? Do we put them in late models like Tony Stewart had? That could be one way or the other. It's a cool idea. It really made me smile there for a second as I got to thinking how cool it would be to see a Ocala Speedway or an Alltech or a Volusia. Of course, the East Bay is the first one that came to my mind, but unfortunately we've lost such a great track. But to go back to Bowman Gray Stadium, absolutely, it's a great place to start the year off, to get the guns banging, to see some hand-to-hand combat between the drivers, to ruffle some feathers. Of course, you want them to get all stirred up in the chicken coop after they've been off for, 3 months, 2 months, or whatever it may be, getting back into a race car. You want to start the season off with them ruffling feathers. Absolutely. This is a great promoting tool for NASCAR. I'm all for Bowman Gray Stadium, but we're not going to do a points paying cup race there. That's just absurd and not possible. So I've had my say in that one. 5 flags. Let's go to 5 flags. I mean, come on. Think about
I like the idea of five
history.
flags.
Yeah, I mean, it's the home of the Snowball Derby. Of course, NASCAR should return to 5 flags for the Clash.
Okay.
I could get behind that.
Already well known for the Snowball Derby. So I think that would be a good choice. I think we've all made some really great points, and I really am enjoying the comments that we're getting here from All Sports All Day. I think Spring Darlington should go, but I don't think NASCAR will give up one of their tracks. Yeah, that is a challenge. I know you mentioned earlier about North Wilkesboro too, but the question is exactly what you asked. What race does SMI take off if they put North Wilkesboro? There is already a weekend where I believe, what is it, the Trucks and Xfinity or Trucks and
ARCA? They do a Trucks and a Xfinity at North Wilkesboro, okay. And that again is supposed to happen again. We don't have anything official on that yet, but I think that was a multi-year deal.
Yeah, we usually see the schedule come out sometime around September, October-ish maybe. But yeah, we'll have to see what the 26 schedule shows us. But keep the comments coming, All Sports All Day. I'm really loving this. And anybody else out there that's watching, feel free to chime in with your thoughts as well. We enjoy hearing from everybody.
All Sports All Day is going to get me in trouble, and me and Chris are going to argue because I'm in favor of every track only gets one race, and that means all tracks, whether it be Daytona or Talladega. But I also understand that to support a track, one race a year is tough to make it work. So
yes,
I understand that. I mean, I get that. But I still think NASCAR needs to look at, and I think North Wilkesboro is a perfect example. Try a midweek, Wednesday or Thursday night Cup Series points paying race at a track, and that one's close enough to the main teams of the hub, Charlotte, that it wouldn't take a whole lot to run down their race and get back home and not affect the rest of the schedule. But I think that's where they need to look at if they really want to do something like this. And I think there too, you talked about the size, and that's part of the reason that some of these tracks went away was just the capacity when NASCAR hit its boom. So if you do a midweek, again, you're probably not going to get as many fans as you do on the weekend, but you'll still pack it out with the locals or some that can travel during the week. I think it's a reasonable thought. And I know NASCAR is looking at all things, so it'll be interesting.
Okay. And I'm going to say what All Sports All Day had to say, and then we'll let you comment, Chris. As someone who has had a date taken away, I can't say I support one race per track, but I get where you're coming from for sure. What are your thoughts, Chris? Last thoughts.
MJ's an idiot.
Yours. You gotta have 2 Daytonas. You gotta have 2 Talladegas. Why the heck are we even discussing this again? We're talking about Bowman Gray in 2026, and I'm looking forward to it because NASCAR knows what they're doing with this one. There's a lot of things they don't know what they're doing with, including that Cody Ware caution flag last week.
We talked about that.
But in this one, they're doing it right. So where NASCAR was right, where NASCAR was wrong. We can play that next if y'all want to.
Okay. So, Jay, have you just picked that topic, right?
Yeah, I picked that topic.
Okay. So I'm going to go in this direction then. The lap 62 pit stop, where it was Ty Gibbs versus the number 6 crew. What are your thoughts about that, Chris?
Where NASCAR was right and where NASCAR was wrong. I mean, we're staying on point. NASCAR was wrong. They got this one wrong. I mean, if the pit man, tell me one reason why the pit man would think that Ty Gibbs was trying to run him over, unless Ty Gibbs was trying to run him over, right? I mean, it's close calls all the time, right? That's the name of this game. They know what they're doing. Obviously, that pit crew member saw something that was nefarious that wasn't in place, and he reacted to it. And then we have some bogus guy that flips a little switch as Jack Hewitt has an official shirt on and thinks he's, I won't go into Jack Hewitt's little spiel, but yeah, thinks he's a little, and he's gonna, what. But anyway, it's a terrible situation where NASCAR got it wrong. Ty Gibbs has been known to be a hot-tempered little guy. And I think in this situation where you had a reaction from a pit crewman who felt like that dude put his life in danger when it is their sport to be up on the wall, and in these close moments, there was a reaction because there was obviously intention. I'm not Stephen A. Smith. I don't have a long one on this one, I promise. Okay. It's very obvious.
Well, I know NASCAR gave their explanation, and their explanation is that the driver had the right of way in that particular situation, and that the pit crew members may have been premature in getting out for their car coming. It's hard to really tell, and I hate to be a judge of what intention is, but they are allowed, and here's All Sports All Day, you are allowed 3 pit boxes to drive through on entry. Don't know where everyone is hating on Ty Gibbs. He really hasn't been too hot-tempered in the Cup Series. And I will say that he was very hot-tempered, in some of the other series that we've seen him in, and used his car as a weapon, if you will. And I'm being overly graphic with that, but I do think that NASCAR, when they showed the overhead, we did see the pit crew members come out, but in that particular instance, and the way it is written in their rule books, the driver has the right of way to go through those 3 pit boxes to get to his pit box. And I think that's why we see a lot of drivers short pitting and going in when there's not a lot of traffic on pit road, because it's dangerous. It's a dangerous job. And I don't know how these guys do it week in and week out. They practice, and they're very good at what they do. But I have to agree with regard to what All Sports All Day has to say here. I don't think I don't really think he did it intentionally. I don't know how you judge intention. I did not hear him say that he did it intentionally. Not that I would expect him to admit to it. But I do think that, NASCAR gave a good explanation, and it makes sense. They are given those 3 pit boxes to go through. Hated Ty in ARCA, hated him in Xfinity, but he has been a class act in the Cup Series. Don't think he did that on purpose. And I tend to lean in that direction as well. And I understand where people are coming from. We don't like seeing people get hurt on pit road or come close to getting hurt on pit road. Nobody likes that. But the pit crew has to be aware. And if they're not aware, I've got to ask why they're not aware, because I think everybody else is aware that those drivers can go through 3 pit boxes to get to their pit box. And that's the way it is stated. So NASCAR didn't see anything wrong with it. Upon further review, Steve Letarte didn't see anything wrong with it. So I have to agree with where they're coming from. Jay, what are your thoughts?
I was going to say, leave me something there, Sharon.
Okay.
The media did. I mean, when it happened, they're like, ooh, that's an RFK team. He just had a dust up with an RFK car on the track. He's taking it out. Bad move. Well, went back, watched the replay, specifically that overhead shot. And Steve Letarte broke it down and he said, I made a mistake. There was nothing wrong there. And actually, as the more they looked at it, you can actually put it on the crew member. Now, I don't have the NASCAR rule book in front of me, but y'all mentioned it. They can go through 3 pit boxes. He only went in 1. And if you look at the angle he came in at, as the lead car, regardless of where the pit boxes are, he was in front of Brad Keselowski. So he has the right of way. He's got to come through that pit box first. Be thankful he didn't come through it straight, because again, you can come in 3. Your crewmen can only, most of them are on the wall. First off, they can't even put feet on the ground until their car is 1 pit stall away. The tire changer carrier now can start on the ground like he is there. However, he is supposed to be back against the wall. They pointed this out. He actually was a step or 2 away from the wall. They can be on the ground, but are supposed to be up along the wall. So again, if you want to get technical, he was a couple feet out of position to begin with. See there where he's got space between him and the wall, and Brad is not within the 1 car length yet. So if you really wanted to get technical, that is on that pit member. Again, I hate to see that it happened. We don't want to see anybody hurt or something like that. He said it twisted his wrist. Now, going back to that, the reason for that is you noticed he is, with the changes they made in trying to eliminate the number of people over the wall during a pit stop, the tire carrier now carries 2 tires. And that's why they've allowed him to start on the ground and not come off the wall. But they are supposed to be up against the wall until their car is 1 away. Again, they know that car, Ty Gibbs in this case, is coming first and going to the pit beyond them. That is one of those where, especially in tight competition, coordination between the 2 crews ahead of time, probably a good idea. Hey, we're both coming. Let's work together here so that we don't have any problems amongst either one of us. And I'll come back a little more on Ty Gibbs on the second go round.
Okay, Chris? All Sports All Day says, I hope they don't fine or punish the crew members. In retrospect, the tire carrier almost got hit by a 3,400-pound car. I'd be pretty pissed too. Just sports, tempers flare, no punishment for the pit crew.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can agree with that. I still believe intention was there. You had a reaction from intent. Maybe the crewman was staring him down. Maybe it was a challenge on both sides. I mean, that's we could say that the Tony Stewart incident was a mistake by both parties. Maybe this one was similar, and it could have costed significant injuries to that crew member. So I'm always going to be on the side of a crewman. If he thinks that somebody did something malicious, I'm going to stand up for him. I'm a big fan of what these guys do. They're athletes, so they know how to handle themselves. Most of these guys are former football players, basketball players, high school standouts. They are not of the weak. So when you have a guy who reacts that way, I'm pretty sure that he felt there was intent there, and I'll stand behind him. Look, very rarely do you have a fight on pit road that they have to literally 15 laps later acknowledge that there was something going on there. MRN was quick to put it to say something, and I believe Twitter was even faster. So I don't know if you guys follow Twitter during the race, but I have a lot.
What's Twitter?
What X? Yeah, it's awesome. Like that's where you get your in-car information, is through Twitter while you're watching the race. So it kind of goes hand in hand with me. I'm always right there watching. So I kind of heard and seen that there was a possibility of something going on. NASCAR took a stance, I guess, let them police themselves in that. The crewman didn't get hit. I'm sure Ty wasn't going to hit him. But at the same time, these guys are athletes. They protect their zone. He had every right to go over there and express his displeasure. I feel like that's probably the most important thing for these guys to do. back in baseball days, it used to be if they threw a ball at your head or whatever, you'd stare down the pitcher, because basically you would say, hey, don't do that. Don't do that again, because you're going to either one, you're going to get hit, or I'm going to charge the mound. In this situation, it's kind of similar. The pit crewman felt like he took a little bit more than what he should, and he let them know about it real quick. So kudos to that crewman. He's my hero.
Well, all of the pit crew are heroes in many, many ways, because they put their lives in danger every time they put their foot on pit road. I will say, though, you mentioned being football players, former football players. A lot of people in sports will go back and review the footage of the race or the game that they just played, or the race that they just raced. The drivers do that. And I'm sure pit crew members do that too. And this is a case where I'm sure if he goes back and looks at that footage, he'll see that he was not up against the wall and a few steps out. And that's a learning opportunity. He will learn from that. And do I understand the heat of the moment? Absolutely. I would be really upset too. So I do think that it's just a learning opportunity. It was very, very close. I'm glad that he was not hit. I would feel absolutely horrible if he had been hit. But I do think that it's a learning opportunity for him to take a look at that footage, realize where he had a part in what happened there, and learn to stay closer to the wall. And I know these guys are looking for every possible advantage they can get. And so that one step could save him a millisecond of trying to get that tire changed. But is it worth your life? Is it worth being hit by a car and putting yourself in front of a car that's coming into their pit stall? And it's not. So it's better to be safe. And hopefully it's going to be a learning opportunity for him. All Sports All Day says, give some good old school NASCAR vibes. I like it.
That's true. It's a little bit of a throwback.
It is a little bit of a throwback. Jay, your follow-up?
Well, and going back to what All Sports All Day said earlier, I didn't necessarily hate Ty Gibbs, but he definitely had a little bit of an attitude and could lose his cool, both in some of his interviews and his actions. I agree. We've seen some maturity. We haven't seen that out of him. I'm trying to think. I think it was on the morning show. So either Pete Pistone or Mike Bagley said, do you really think both these drivers, Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs, having good races, need a win? Were they going to beat SVG? Yeah, that's obviously in their thought. But at that point, Ty Gibbs also knows he's competing for the head-to-head challenge of who do I need to be in front of. Do you really think at that point, as he's coming down for the money pit stop, to say, hey, this is a teammate to the car that ran into me X number of laps ago, I'm going to take a swipe at their crewman? Come on now. I mean, those guys got a lot going through their head. I don't think that was one of them. Now, Chris, you said the crewman standing up for what he believes. I got no problem with that, and I certainly don't want to see that crew penalized or anything come of that. You know, again, a little bit of a scuffle. I don't know if punches were thrown, but an official separated them. Leave it at that. I'm fine with that. I got zero problem with that. It is odd. Normally we don't see it in race, like you said. That's normally an after race, but that's normally when the action takes place. But I thought it was, you know, and like you said, everybody covered it, MRN, as well as they talked about it on the broadcast. And like I said, I was also with Steve Letarte when I first heard it. Oh, we put that story together. Oh, that's a team car to Busher, I think is who Gibbs had been bumping and banging with. Did he do this intentionally? They showed the replay, the overhead shot. There was no abrupt left turn. You know, had we seen something like that, again, you go back to, they have the SMT and telemetry data. Had there been a hard left turn or a swerve back and forth, by all means, step in, you take care of it. But there wasn't. That was actually as late a possible turn as you could make to get into your pit stall the way you want. He could have used 3. He only used 1. So I don't see anything wrong on Ty Gibbs' position there either.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah. You know who Ty Gibbs reminds me of?
Who?
Russ Wheeler.
That's from Days of Thunder.
Okay, well, All Sports
like
All Day says, let's remember Ty started really good and was one of the few drivers saying his whole car was loose. I think he could have given SVG a run for his money. And what are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I wanted to go back to Chris. You mentioned that of whether or not SVG, and I had talked about this, was going full throttle and actually putting everything out there. And it goes back to qualifying. He was trying to not let anybody follow him. They took away his in-car cam, his foot cam. Everybody's trying to be like him. But the one thing I'll say, Chase Briscoe said it in I think his post-race interview. He said every time I gained on him and got close, it was like SVG said, "Oh, I'll get a little further away." And I think that's part of what makes him great is he doesn't overuse or abuse his car. So, if I got a 2-car length lead, I'm going to maintain that. When they get within a car length, I'm going to step it up and I'm going to get 2 car lengths back. But I don't have to be 10 car lengths and push my car beyond its limit or use it up. So I think there is something to that. I don't think we've seen everything yet. On a couple of races where he's gone to the back and had to drive through, we saw it when he came back and got Kyle Larson, pitted during a stage and still won the stage. That was impressive, and he used his car and got it. So I think you're right there. I don't know that we've truly seen him push his car all the way to the limit yet.
Okay, Chris, we'll try it once again. What are your thoughts?
There's a couple of things. First of all, they're all trying to stroke their ego. They're race car drivers. They have to feel like they were some importance. That's how they deal with getting their butt handed to them by SVG. Another thing is Wile E. Coyote versus the Roadrunner. We know who the Roadrunner is right now. We know who can, all right? And that's going to be who's the Wile E. Coyote. And maybe, just maybe, the Roadrunner will look in his rearview mirror and there's going to be somebody giving him a run for his money. And we'll see a Brad Keselowski versus a Marcus Ambrose again. Like, that was one of the most iconic road course racing finishes we've ever seen. Was the battle between Brad Keselowski and Marcus Ambrose, another Roadrunner versus Wile E. Coyote. So I'm waiting for that to happen. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. When you've got a second and a half on the field and you're probably half throttling it, these boys got a long way to get it figured out on heel to toe. But they're starting to watch right now. And Connor Zillett, that's an in-house player that you have to respect because Connor's going to learn firsthand from SVG. So This is a kid who's 18 years old, has a great mentor, but I don't want to put Connor Zillett in this box of only being a road course racer. We've seen that with Austin Cindric. It didn't really work out. And look, Austin Cindric's got, I think, two or three wins, and none of them are on road course tracks. So I don't believe so anyway. I may be wrong on that one.
No, two super speedway wins, I think.
Well, one was at St. Louis, I believe, and the other was at the Daytona 500. So I think those are.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
So, I don't want to put Connor Zillett in this box, but to think that any of these guys have anything for SVG right now, you're just stroking an ego. Connor Zillett won that race on Saturday. I don't know if there was team orders. I don't know if SVG was taking it easy on him. That was a kind of a Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote moment, but there again, they're in the same equipment, and you're not going to typically see two drivers from the same organization try to wreck each other on the last lap. I think these guys have learned lessons from that end of it. Now, if it's another manufacturer or it's another distant team, I think that could make it a lot more interesting of a finish. But when it's somebody in-house, you definitely don't want to be the guy that wrecks the other guy and keeps either one of you from getting a good finish. I think that's how you lose your job the quickest when you're up in the upper salons of racing. So, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was a completely different race than what we've seen in Chicago All Sports All Day. He was definitely going easy after using Connor up at Chicago. So, yeah, he's already proved he is the man one time. That's an in-house deal. And whether we want to see it or not, Connor Zilisch was racing for a championship, not SVG. So if there's team orders, which none of y'all believe around here is of any significance, and it's only speculation that there's possibly maybe team orders going on. Look, I mean, it is what it is. They were going to make sure Zilisch won that race.
I wish I had footage of that into the race, because SVG did try to go after him a few times, going deep into the corner, and but Connor Zilisch did a good job of keeping his position. He came close a couple of times, but it wasn't that SVG wasn't trying, I don't think, especially on that last lap. I think he was giving it a try. Now, we know SVG is pretty good, and if he wanted to, he probably could have.
There's a difference in using somebody up and
yes.
going and trying to take a chance. What you want to do in that situation is have Connor make a mistake. And for Connor not to make a mistake shows the maturity of that development of this certain driver. Connor has a cool head on him because he's literally got the greatest of all time knocking on his back bumper, and was able to stay cool and actually win that race. So I'm not taking anything away from Connor Zilisch. I'm a big Connor Zilisch fan. I'm a big Red Bull fan. I think he's, we've missed a few saying this guy's the next big horn. I think Connor definitely is the next big horn for NASCAR. So what's your thoughts, Sharon?
Well, and I don't think, reading All Sports All Day here, he says if Connor goes to Cup next year, which is most likely, I hope he doesn't turn into SVG, and I hope he can be competitive everywhere. And I got to tell you, he doesn't want Connor Zilisch to be just a road course ringer. And I don't think he will be. I know when he first came in to the Xfinity series, I remember telling my brother, keep an eye on this guy because he is really, really good. And even though he's racing this track for the first time, he's going to win. Let's see, what you mentioned before, Daytona, Talladega, and Gateway. And none of those are road courses. None of those are road courses. So I think Connor Zilisch is going to be good on the ovals. I think he's going to be good on a lot of different tracks. And it doesn't matter if he's racing it for the first time or not, especially in the Xfinity series, he's going to be one to watch out for. And since he's come back from that back injury from Talladega, I think I read a stat somewhere where he's had nothing but top 5 finishes since he's returned back. It is true. He says, yeah, but running All Sports All Day says, yeah, but running 5th to 10th in ovals in Xfinity is like 30th in the Cup Series. And we are seeing that with Harrison Burton. And that's true. He goes on to say, I'm just a firm believer in people not being rushed through the ranks. And I agree with that 110%. I think that Carson Hocevar was rushed through the ranks way too quickly, and he has more development that he could have benefited from in the Xfinity series, especially from a maturity level. He's getting a lot of heat from a lot of the drivers for the way he's racing in the Cup Series. But part of that is his maturity level. And I think that's one of the reasons why coming up through trucks or coming up through the Xfinity series gives them that opportunity to mature because now Connor Zilisch seems to be very mature for his age. Where Carson Hocevar still has that maturity curve that he needs to go through. But I am too, All Sports All Day. I think that there is something to be said for going through the ranks and not being rushed through. We saw it with Ty Gibbs, Carson Hocevar, Haley Deegan, and others that have been rushed through. Jay, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think All Sports All Day sits in our discussions because we've had that many times. And there are exceptions, and I think Ty Gibbs is one of them. Talent-wise, certainly could. He had showed in what he could do in the Xfinity and moved up. William Byron, another one that came through rather quickly, especially even from iRacing, does take a little bit more time, as you said. Of when you get to the Cup side, it's a whole nother level in ball game. It took William Byron several years, Chase Elliott several years. Ty Gibbs, we thought was going to be a quick burn, but has struggled now. This will be in his sophomore year, and hasn't gotten that win yet. But I think we're getting back to that, close to, hey, he could win any week. And we saw that. And that's why I said I really don't think, going back to this all started with the tire deal, I just don't think that was on his mind. We knew he had a shot to run with SVG. Again, whether he caught him and then SVG pulled away some more is another story that we'll have to wait and see. But I do think that there is something to be said. I don't know that you can make it mandatory of X number of years in the Xfinity. If you're willing to take the chance at the Cup level and invest in, Rick Hendrick was with William Byron, and it's paid off. Championship contender, 2-time Daytona 500 winner. Let's see, he says, as Byron fan, he ran 1 year in the trucks, and he did do 2 in the Xfinity. Got the championship. Again, but he came as a iRacer. That's where the concern came in, because he came from iRacing. And I think he should have had a Truck Series championship. I don't want to go into that. It's a judgment call. Some pay off, some don't. And we've seen some guys that even at the Cup level, just getting with the right team and everything matching up just right. Daniel Suarez, Joey Logano. He was good with Joe Gibbs Racing, but he became great in championship when he got over to Penske. So, you never know. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Okay. I think we've kind of talked the subject and beyond the subject. So, Chris, do you want to pick up on our next topic here? In the meantime, while you're thinking of that, All Sports All Day says definitely don't make a rule about ranks, but I just think it's risky when people do 1 year in Xfinity and trucks and then jump to Cup. And I think we're in agreement on that.
Yeah. My only comment to that is look at Joe Logano, William Byron, perfect examples. Sometimes 1 to 2 years isn't even enough then. But, in this day and age, the way the car is, we can develop drivers faster than probably ever before. The type of car that they're running is not a car that the other Cup drivers have 20 years experience running. They only have a few years experience in there. So as this car gets older and older, we'll find ourselves distancing from being able to just rush in guys the way that we have recently. So I guess we could talk about the in-season challenge round 3 update. I don't know how many of y'all had some of these guys on your final 4, but I did have one of them, and that was Ty Gibbs. So
yeah, it's one. Yep.
And now here we are. So, Jay.
Okay, Jay.
All right. Well, yeah. Certainly, again, I don't know anybody in their right mind, honestly, had Ty Dillon. Good on him. This is one of, did we see what we said may be a concern? Ty Dillon did a bump and run on Alex Bowman on the last lap to get that position over Bowman. Did we see that kind of bump and run in that turn and spot all throughout the day, all throughout the race? Yes. So it was happening regardless of whether it was a in-season challenge matchup or not. The John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones one, I mean, that was back and forth all day, and they ended up, I think, just positions apart. So good for John Hunter Nemechek. Again, Legacy Motor Club was going to put one in regardless. Now, somebody pointed this out. I believe it is all Toyotas. We got Tyler Reddick,
3 Toyotas and 1 Chevy.
One Chevy. You're right, because Ty Dillon is the lone Chevy. So 3 Toyotas. I hadn't picked up on that when we were looking at our matchups throughout, but I think we got a great. I keep using the word all-star. Tyler Reddick and Ty Gibbs at Dover, I think, is great. I haven't really gone in depth as far as, other than I did have Ty Gibbs as my one of my final 4 on my original bracket. Tyler Reddick and Gibbs both, I think, are great drivers. Both of them kind of have a little bit of momentum now. On the flip side, okay, Ty Dillon, what we got going here is he just keeps doing it. So that's his whole stance. I mean, again, stats aren't going to give you anything to indicate he can, other than he's done it 3 times in the first 3 rounds. Nemechek at Dover, again, I don't know that that's a great track. Legacy Motor Club, though, just as a team and an organization, are on the upswing. So I kind of lean towards Nemechek, but clearly you cannot, as they say, you can't count Jimmy Johnson out or whoever it is when they're talking about it. You obviously cannot count Ty Dillon out. He just keeps coming back. So I think it's great. I know, again, it was the morning show as I was headed down to the prison talking about it. The fact that you have seed number 32, the underdog, the absolute underdog, seed number 32 in the Final Four. They said, Atlanta, all the top guys, your favorites or whatever are out, kind of lose interest in the in-season challenge. This has kind of reinvigorated it because you're watching to see, can the number 32 guy make it all the way? So I still think the bracket as a whole is good. I'm okay with them starting it at Atlanta again next year. And if the same thing happens, so be it, because I think there is still some value in the bracket. And when we look at it, John Hunter Nemechek Legacy Motor Club, were they getting a lot of attention and recognition for what they were doing through the season? Yeah, a little bit, but not a lot. They're looking at it now. And you got Ty Gibbs and Tyler Reddick, both of them not quite having the season you'd want or think they're capable of, but they're at least being consistent. And you're noticing that because they're moving on each and every week. So Tyler Reddick so far probably the one that actually moved on with the most authority by running. I think he ended up 6th in the race as far as that, of outright just beating the driver, not pit stop or a wreck or whatever being the reason they got to advance. But I think it's great. I'm still all in favor of it. And this last one, I know Sharon, me, you, and Taz are going to probably do the a short preview because we're down to 4 drivers, 2 matchups later in the week. I don't know what I'm going to say yet because, like I said, I'm really going to have to look at it. But I think there's some interesting things going on.
I do too. All Sports All Day says a Ty Dillon win would be so funny. Him winning would be awesome. Because of how small that team is, I don't think Ty Dillon, though, thought twice when he saw the 48 pumper. I don't think he did either. And I think that's what the conversation was. And he went up to Bowman after the race. And I pretty much think he said, listen, this is for $1 million that we could really use. And we're talking the last lap, coming down to it, I had to do what I had to do. And I think Bowman understood that. And they left, with the fist pump and, whatever you guys do with your hands when you do a fist pump. But they departed on good terms after that conversation. I only got 2 right because I did pick Bowman. To move on, it was Ty Dillon. And I think my comment was, if Ty Dillon wins this one, I'm going to have to pick him all the way through because I can't believe he's gotten through to this far. And I agree with All Sports All Day. It would be kind of awesome to see the 32nd seed come up with that win. But he is going to have some challengers if it comes down to that. Nemechek was pretty much in front of Eric Jones for most of the day. I think the only time Eric Jones was ahead of Nemechek throughout that race was when they were doing pit stops, and he had to complete the cycle of the pit stops. With regard to Priest and Reddick, They ran together for most of the day, but Priest was in front. I think the only reason is Priest made a pit stop to change tires toward the end of the race, and that's what put Reddick up in front. At one point, all of my picks were going to win, and then it fell apart in the end. With regard to the Gibbs and Smith, it was kind of the same thing. Gibbs was out front for most of the race. There were a couple times when Smith seemed to get up front, but I think it was part of the round of pit stops, the cycling of pit stops. But Gibbs definitely had the better car. Smith did have a good finish, though. So don't underestimate what Zane Smith is going to do for the rest of this season. And everything. We've got Ty Gibbs now against Nemechek and Reddick against Gibbs going into Dover, which is a kind of a unique track. Oh yeah, you're right. All Sports All Day is pointing out that Priest was caught up in that accident. Not really an accident. They were kind of bumping and banging there. Priest also had his right front fender torn off. Yes, in the Gregson incident that took Gregson out of the race. And you're right, he tore up his fender in that incident. Thank you for reminding me of that. So that is part of the reason why Gregson got behind, or not Gregson, but Priest got behind, and Reddick then went to the front. But I have to wonder if Reddick wasn't following Priest all race long, kind of studying him and trying to identify how he was going to try to get around him at the end of that race. Just a theory on my part, but we'll see. He did end up winning that one. But Chris, what are your thoughts?
Well, last week we were so stirred up of whether or not it was an intentional wreck from Ross Chastain and Joey Logano, to this week, a driver admitting on national television that he wrecked another guy for a chance to go for $1 million. Look, the Cinderella story is a great story, but Ty Dillon's not going to wear the glass slipper, right? It's not going to happen. And racing somebody that way, Alex Bowman would have probably been a little bit better fit for this, but that's what the Dillon boys do when they get the chance given. They do something crazy, and it's just funny how we react to one situation and then let another slide. I think that Tyler Reddick is probably the one who needs the $1 million the most. With that $1 million, he'll only need possibly about $39 million more so that he can buy his own charter and make sure that he continues racing in Cup racing. But we'll get to that later. Sharon.
Oh, can we?
Jay, any follow-up here?
Let's segue on into it.
Right, yeah. I know it's on there. I'd put it on there, and yeah. No, this is one of those. I do want to correct you, Chris, there. He did not wreck Bowman. And all day said he gave him a love tap. He didn't punt him, he gave him a love tap. Okay. Hold on.
I've got it pulled up right here. Okay, it says, Dillon said he and Bowman spoke after the race and shared a laugh about the contact with both understanding circumstances and no lingering frustration over a bump and run for 18th place. I told him, I'm like, hey, man, I'm sorry. If it wasn't for $1 million, I'd have never done that. I appreciated him for racing me clean, and he was cool. He knew it was coming. I think he was more frustrated with my teammate, AJ Allmendinger, and my brother, Austin Dillon. They were all racing hard back there, and he did a great job. So I don't know if that's admitting that you put the bump and run on him on purpose, but yeah, I mean, for $1 million, I guess, we'd wreck our mama too. So.
And that's where I said this early on. When you start with 32, your odds of it to wreck somebody or even bump and run or get that aggressive, I didn't know if we'd see the focus on the individual matchups throughout a race. Like I said, of that. Once you get down to it, it is now time. This is going to the Final Four, which means you got 2 more shots or 2 more drivers you got to beat. I think teams are going to be more aware of it. And you mentioned it for the same reasons. A team like Ty Dillon, I mean, $1 million, I'd say it'd go a long way. I know it really doesn't, but they need it oh, they had that as part of his. I don't think Mr. H is in dire need of 7 figures. You get it. I mean, again, it's going to be bragging rights because it's the first in-season challenge. But certainly $1 million goes a lot more with that bragging rights, if you will. So, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. Again, we always talk about that at the end of a race, a bump and run to win a race. Well, this is a race. It's an in-season race for $1 million. So I got no problem with it. The one thing I take away from it, I think Alex Bowman realizes, hey, we as a team shouldn't have even been in that position. Better road course racer than that. They got better cars and equipment than that. They shouldn't have been in a position where Ty Dillon was able to put a bumper to them, you know. So I think they realized that of, hey, we gave it away. You know, we put ourselves in that position where he even had a shot to get to our bumper and let that happen. And as always, what would I do if I were the one behind? Would I bump somebody to have a shot at $1 million? Yeah. I mean, I've bumped people for no better reason other than I didn't like their car. So, I mean, we won't get into the things I've bumped into.
Well, I mean, look, I'm all for the little man getting his spotlight, right? And I think that if any team in the garage needed a spotlight right now, needed something really good to happen for them, it was probably the colleague team because there's not much to celebrate over there. With AJ not being as competitive at the road course racing, and we haven't seen, you know, a good outing from the Daytona or Talladega tracks yet, you know, they needed a sparkling light shining on their little race team. And I'm glad that they're getting that because, you know, would we be talking about Ty Dillon at all had he not been in the Final Four? It's a great Cinderella story, but anybody that expects him to wear the glass slipper at the end of the dance, y'all are crazy. It's not going to happen. Tyler Reddick's going to run away with this thing. It's a high side hustlers racetrack, y'all. It's Dover. I mean, it's the concrete mile. Let's go, baby. The Monster Mile. Here's
the only thing I can say to that, Chris. Nobody, and I'm one of them, gave him a shot to get by Denny Hamlin. Okay, wreck, it happened. The next round it was what? Brad Keselowski. No way it's going to happen on a road course. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. Brad Keselowski in the next week. No, I mean,
here.
Seriously.
Anything can happen.
who had given him a chance in any one of the matchups, even against Alex Bowman? And again, statistic wise, he shouldn't even been where he's at, honestly.
Not to talk over you, but that's single-handedly why this tournament was a good PR move for NASCAR.
I agree.
And it needs to play more into March Madness than it does at this part of the racetrack, because anybody that looked at that and realized that SVG was not possibly going to be in this roll of dice here, I don't know if Ty Dillon would be here if SVG had actually made.
Exactly. I thought about that today. I don't know how he would have done of Atlanta.
Huh?
If you put SVG into the tournament to begin with, say he was 32nd in points, it would have depended on his matchup and whatnot in getting through Atlanta. Obviously, if he got past Atlanta, it's all him since then. So, yeah, he would be one of them. Again, the Atlanta matchup and whether or not he would have been in the big wreck and whatnot. I did think about that today, though. All Sports said, big difference. Logano got dumped, Bowman got bumped. And Sharon and I have that discussion all the time. Bump and run versus dump and run. There's definitely a difference. And I would agree. That was a bump and run. Moved him up high enough. He got by him along with a couple other cars. Just got him out of the groove. So I'm okay with that under any circumstances personally. Sharon, maybe not so much. Go ahead.
Well, my challenge is this. I'm on record as saying if he gets through this one, I'm going to pick him for the rest of the way. So, and he got by this one. I didn't think he would get by Bowman, but he did. So Ty Dillon is going to be my pick all the way through, as I promised on record. So, but it has been a fun in-season challenge. I'm looking forward to, we do a preview on Friday of the in-season challenge. Round 4 preview is coming up on Friday. So we'll be talking about it then. But it has been fun to go through these and try to figure it out, because everything has been so unpredictable. We've looked at stats and figures and everything, but in some of these cases, we're going on intuition. And sometimes our intuition works, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes the stats and figures work, and a lot of times those stats and figures didn't do a hill of beans of help. So it's been kind of interesting kind of going through that process, and I can't wait for round 4 preview coming up on Friday. So
just to throw the numbers out there, Ty Gibbs was the 6th seed. John Hunter Nemechek was actually the 12th seed. Tyler Reddick, the 23rd seed, and then Ty Dillon, the 32nd seed. So seeding don't mean a whole lot.
Was the 23rd seed.
But wait a minute. Let's look at something. 23rd seed, right? Tyler Reddick. We had a graph up earlier that shows Shane Van Gisbergen in the old point system at 24th. So these are numbers that we're just throwing together, but you're looking at once again, another reason why no matter what that looks like in the beginning, the fact of it is Shane Van Gisbergen is a championship caliber driver, and so is Tyler Reddick. Reddick, I think Ty Gibbs is probably the guy that we've most forgotten about in all this. I don't know if anybody's really given John Hunter the lean over Ty Dillon, probably so, but it's really Ty Gibbs, the forgotten person here in all this. And look, he's been known to surprise us quite a few times. So, who knows? We may see a head-to-head between Tyler and Ty, and that would be interesting, especially with two former teammates going for that $1 million with John Hunter Nemechek and Ty Gibbs. Of course, both of them, I believe, were at JGR in the lower ranks at the same time. So they were former teammates there that could possibly battle it out head-to-head for that $1 million.
I heard.
So,
I wonder if there's going to be a Chevy versus a Toyota, though. 3 Toyotas, 1 Chevy.
I know we got to get one more round of one more pass for Ty Dillon to get into the championship or the finals. Somebody threw it out there today. His Xfinity Series win, Ty Dillon's Xfinity Series win, came at Indianapolis.
Yes. But Ty Gibbs versus Tyler Reddick, I think, would be a better battle than.
I think it's going to be a great one
all day. I think that would be it is going to be a very good battle at Dover because they are pitted against each other and in the in-season challenge. So who do you think is going to win? Let's go with early picks here between the two battles. Ty Gibbs versus Tyler Reddick. Ty Dillon. Gosh, we got too many ties in this. Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, Ty Dillon, and John Hunter Nemechek. But it's JHN versus Ty Dillon and Ty Gibbs versus Tyler Reddick. Jay, why don't you go first? Let Chris, you go first. It's your turn to talk.
Well, I can almost guarantee somebody with the initials TY is going to go to the final two. So, look, obviously I'm going to go with the obvious here. I'm going to be Captain Obvious, I guess. John Hunter over Ty, and then Tyler Reddick over Ty Gibbs. So that's where I stand going into the final. Even though Ty Gibbs was on my final round in the last one, I just feel like Tyler Reddick, and unless something happens at Dover, he'll be the guy that that should be able to surpass Ty Gibbs there. So I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. That's what I love about it.
I think I know where Jay's going to go. Here's where All Sports All Day is going. Ty Dillon versus Ty Gibbs in the final. I like it. Jay, where are you going?
Well, on Friday, we did our picks, and I had Bowman, Nemechek, Gibbs, and Reddick. Obviously, Bowman is not there. It's Ty Dillon. I had Bowman then going over Nemechek. I'm with you, Sharon. How can you not take Ty Dillon now? But I still just I can't go against the odds that hard. I still put Nemechek in over Ty Dillon. If Dillon does it, great on him. Be interesting story. The Gibbs versus Reddick. Now, I had Gibbs on my Final Four all the way back to my original bracket. I had him losing in the Final Four, though, to Blaney. Well, that didn't happen. We got Tyler Reddick. Up until this point in the season, though, I hadn't seen the Tyler Reddick we've seen, so I gave the advantage to Gibbs. I may change that by Friday because, like I said, I'm actually going to look at some of the Dover stats. Right now, I think both of them are on that upswing, and that's where I would love, we're talking about Ty Dillon. I think Legacy Motor Club and John Hunter Nemechek getting into the finals is a big story because we've seen what Legacy Motor Club is building and what they're moving towards. So I think that in itself is a good, even getting one into the Final Four. They had to go through each other to do it, unfortunately, but I think was great. So I show it right now as Nemechek versus, again, Gibbs. That may change by Friday. It really might. Okay.
Well, we'll see what happens. Since I'm on record saying Ty Dillon, I'm taking him all the way. So I'll say Ty Dillon over Nemechek. And I think I agree. I kind of agree with All Sports All Day. I think Ty Gibbs is underrated a little bit, but Reddick has had kind of a mediocre year. I think he's kind of come alive, though, with this in-season challenge. So it's going to be a tough pick between Ty Gibbs and Reddick. I do think I want to do like you, Jay. I'm going to give a pick now, but I'm going to look at their stats, Dover specific, because there's a lot of stats that I look at when I've been making my picks. Not that they've helped me any, but right. I want to take a look at the Dover's specific stats and see if it doesn't give me some insight on who I want to pick here. But I do have to also take into consideration exactly some of the thoughts here. Ty Gibbs being underrated. I think Ty Gibbs has had a rough go of it in this next-gen car. It's taken him a while to kind of get the next-gen car under him, if you will, and kind of understand it a little bit more. But I think he's doing that. I think he's making the adjustments and adapting to that next-gen car, and we are seeing that on the racetrack. Same thing maybe with Tyler Reddick. I'm not quite sure, but Tyler Reddick's year has not gone. And you can see that in the point standings and him being rated as a 23rd seed coming into this race. He was not a top-seeded driver. So we know he can be. We know he has the talent to be. But I want to look at Dover-specific stats. I'm going to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo on this and just say Reddick for tonight. But we'll see if that doesn't change by Friday. I'm going to reserve the right to change my mind by the time we get to Friday. So we've gone through that. Jay, what's your next hot topic here?
Wait, can I do an official recap here?
Sure.
Sharon is going on record of picking Ty Dillon to win it all after not doing a full bracket to start the tournament. 3 races in and only 1 remaining, she's chosen her winner. Is that true? Is that clear?
Well, I'm just saying, I'm on record as saying if Ty Dillon got past Alex Bowman, let me clarify.
You're right. You did say it before. You did say it before Sonoma.
I am on record with saying if Ty Dillon gets past Bowman, I'm going to pick him the rest of the way. So I feel like I'm committed to that, and I have to go that route. So I have to be more careful about what I say.
I'm just ragging because you didn't even do a full bracket to begin with.
Okay.
If this helps,
be careful what I share with you in the future as well.
if this helps anybody in that coin flip, last year's race, Ty Gibbs was 10th, Tyler Reddick 11th. Does that help?
Okay, so what's our next hot topic, Jay?
All right, I'll go ahead. I know we got to talk about it. So 2311 has filed yet again for the third court review to keep their charters. They say they have new information of NASCAR going to sell or take their charters, which they don't even have because they didn't sign the charter agreement, but I'll get into my opinion in a little bit. So at this point, I believe it's by Wednesday, a determination will be made, unless it's, I can't think of the right word, a delay. But if they say, hey, we're going to look at it, but we can't get to it, it'll be a delay, and they'll get another week or two to drag it out. I don't know how else to put it. I can't think of the right legal
trying to rush it
continuance, right?
Yeah, because of the race that's coming up. This, let me share this. Okay. Well, I have to go over
May
here.
I read from? Go ahead.
Today, we filed a motion in the district court for a renewed preliminary injunction and temporary restraining order to protect the team's ability to race chartered for the remainder of the 2025 Cup Series season and prevent irreparable business harm to 2311 and Front Row Motorsports until we can present our case trial in December. New information has surfaced through the discovery process that overwhelmingly supports our position that a preliminary injunction is legally warranted and necessary. The team's love of stock car racing and belief in a better future for the sport for all parties, teams, drivers, employees, sponsors, and fans continues to motivate their efforts to pursue this antitrust case. Now, I do have a statement from NASCAR as well.
Can I read it?
Oh, well, you can read it, but I'll read it and then you can comment on it. How about that? I've got okay, here's the NASCAR statement. It is unfortunate that instead of respecting the clear rulings of the Fourth Circuit, 23XI, 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports are now burdening the district court with a third motion for another unnecessary and inappropriate preliminary injunction. As both the Fourth Circuit and the district court suggested, NASCAR had made multiple requests to 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports to present a proposal to resolve this litigation. We have yet to receive a proposal from 2311 or Front Row, as they have instead preferred to continue their damaging and distracting lawsuit. We will defend NASCAR's integrity from this baseless lawsuit forced upon the sport that threatens to divide the stakeholders committed to serving race fans everywhere. We remain focused on collaborating with the 13 race teams that signed the 2025 charter agreements and share our mutual goal of delivering the best racing in the world each week, including this weekend in Dover. So those are the two statements from the two organizations. I did see another thing here. Okay, that's the same thing. Go ahead and with your comments, Chris, and I'll find this other statement.
Michael Jordan is the only man at the table that has enough money to say the words that we can't say on this show. Just because 13 other teams decided to sign something does not make it necessarily the fact that NASCAR isn't breaking some kind of antitrust law. It just means that you had 13 other teams who were willing to say, okay, this is what we're offered and we better take what we're given. Most of the time when things change it's not the 13 people that didn't do anything. It's the one person that stood up and did something about it. I believe Jordan is the only one capable with deep enough pockets and lawyers to be able to swim through this. I think that there is a justifiable case that 2311 and Front Row Motorsports have. I know Front Row Motorsports was willing to step out of the sport a couple of years ago. This is a team that was deep rooted into NASCAR, showed up in 2007, 2008, I believe, and has really, made leaps and bounds in their organization over the years. Unlike Michael Jordan, Front Row Motorsports didn't have a ton of corporate money or stashed money that could get them by. They literally put their Bob Jenkins put his own franchises on the side of the race cars and footed the bill for Front Row Motorsports to become what they are today. And so if this is a last legitimate chance for these guys to claw their way into having some, first of all, they're 1 for 3. So they got an injunction, and then they got some other people that said, no, this injunction's not good. And then they had an appeal, and the lack of injunction stayed. What they are basically showing here is that NASCAR is already ready to take back control of the charters, which they own. They only lease them out. It's like when you go down and you buy a car at the car lot, you're either buying the car and the bank owns it, or the dealership still, the car company owns it through a lease. And at the end of the lease, you have to pay something, either buy out the contract or trade it in and hope that you didn't have the mileage put on. There's no way that you can convince me that these teams actually own a single charter when NASCAR reserves the right to repossess that charter at any point that they feel that it's necessary. That is a franchise. A franchise lives under those kind of rules, and they're not given the same respect even of franchises. So I have made my case here on what I feel like is the thorn in the side of NASCAR right now, which is 2311. I am on their side that something does get done here, that something does change. Other motorsports have figured out a way to do this. All you've basically done with this charter system is made it more expensive for teams to be able to get involved. You've got a manipulation of rules where you have 2 teams that are the top tier teams in NASCAR that are allowed to have 4 charters, and the rest of the field can only have 3. You can only imagine where that deal was drawn up at. And it was probably drawn up during those secret meetings with teams when they were supposed to be sitting as a collaborative agreement in the the RTA or whatever it was, the actual racing alliance that they had. So, unfortunately, it was 2311 and Front Row Motorsports who got backstabbed by the rest of the teams by going ahead and signing an agreement that I'm not sure at least 6 of the other teams necessarily agreed with. How can anybody agree that NASCAR can appoint 2 teams at the top, 1 more extra charter than everybody else? How is that even possible? That's $40 to $50 million more going into their race team than it is into the other team. So you're automatically starting to put numbers together that say, wait a minute. And I don't think 2311 thought that they were going to have to be stuck with 3 teams. I think they built that garage that they have to fit 4 teams. So we don't know how deep the lawsuit goes and what it is that they're really suing for. We know what the paperwork says, but in the end, when NASCAR has asked them to come to some kind of agreement, 2311 is standing on business. They're not going to give in. They're going to take this as far as it can go, and it looks like December 1st is where it's going to go. And when NASCAR literally comes out and says, hey, we're going to take these charters and we're going to resell them, lets you know that you don't really even own these charters. So, yeah, it's a monopoly. Yeah, they control the motors, they control the cars, they control the charters. I don't know what else to say. Next.
Okay, Jay, I'll let you go.
Remember, I got my Elvis shirt on. I ain't trying to go to jail tonight.
Let me just share this first before we go
Jailhouse Rock.
NASCAR says it has tried to settle because they were encouraged by the judge to settle out of court, NASCAR has made multiple requests to 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports to present a proposal to resolve this litigation. We have yet to receive a proposal, as they have instead preferred to continue their damaging and distracting lawsuit. So Jay, go ahead and give your thoughts. I just want to make sure that this was known as well.
Yeah, well, and that was part of what I have to say is you're talking out of two sides of your mouth.
Yes.
Oh, I had it pulled up here. September something of 2024, and it's a Newsweek article. When this happened, Denny Hamlin said, "No, we're not signing the charters, but we're going to be okay. We're going to run with or without a charter." Then all of a sudden the season starts and they said, "Oh, we got to have a charter," even though we didn't agree to get one. I think of it, and I understand where you're coming from, Chris, of do they own it or are they leasing the charter? Sorry, the cheaters has nothing to do with anything. That was a slip of the tongue. The charters. For the 7 years, yeah, I know, that was Freudian slip. I get where you're saying that. Okay, do they own them? They have the rights to them. And 2311 and Front Row Motorsports had the right to get the charter again for the next, 7-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that's where the ownership of it, where you're talking about, that's one of the one thing they didn't get that they wanted was a permanent charter. And NASCAR said that's not gonna happen. So, what's that?
Understandably so.
I agree. I agree with that as well. It's based off of the package, the TV package, and the money they're bringing in as to how that goes. But you use the example of leasing a car from a lot. And I'll use that versus I was going to use renting a house. You can't, when the lease comes up, say, "No, I don't want to lease it for another 3 years, 7 years, whatever it be," but then turn around and say, "Hey, I want the car. I just don't want the agreement that you're giving me on a new lease." You've had that option. You declined it. How can you then legally fight for it and say, "Oh, you got to pay me as a charter team," when I didn't agree to the charter that was there? I mean, that's where that makes no sense whatsoever. If I'm renting a house, you say, "Okay, I don't want to rent the house. I don't want to renew my lease and rent your house because you've upped the rent. But I want to live there." Okay, I'm not going to live there, but you can't rent it out to somebody else either. I mean, come on. That don't make no sense.
They've purchased all their charters. They've purchased them all. They paid money for them.
And then they decided not to sign
the Then NASCAR changed the rules. They changed what they were expecting from the teams, and there's a reason why they didn't want teams to be able to sue them.
But when they agreed to buy the charter, they knew it expired at the end of 2024. That was a given. Every team that got it, when Spire Motorsports bought theirs for $40 million, they knew at the end of 2024 they may not come into existence again, or whatever else may happens. That going in. They've never been a permanent thing. And according to NASCAR, they never will be.
Which is more of a reason to get rid of them, right? I think we can all agree this charter system's not working, and it's not going to work. There was a better way to do this in the first place. I understand the intent was to make sure that these teams, when they shut down, they had something of value. But that value has been manipulated. It's been manipulated by smart people who know how to flip real estate. And that's what you've seen. That's why you've seen organizations buy and sell charters, flipping charters like it's, Facebook Marketplace. Spire Motorsports, who once again, TJ, who's your daddy?
Percher? I can't remember.
Whatever his name is once again wheeling and dealing with some more charters. That makes this even more a head scratcher of why these charters even exist when all it's doing is creating more costs for owners to be able to get into the sport. When you have charters that are worth $50 to $100 million, that's how much money you have to come to the table with before you even put a race car out on the racetrack. Tell me how that's beneficial for the sport of racing. It's not.
Sharon,
Okay.
you got any input before I come back?
Well, this is from Fox Sports. Bob Pockris. He says, what to know about the NASCAR antitrust lawsuit from 23XI, or I keep saying that, 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. They make an last-ditch effort to stay chartered in hopes of trying, listen to this, in hopes of trying to increase the revenues and influence of the NASCAR Cup Series teams. 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports filed a lawsuit against NASCAR and Chairman Jim France. The teams filed the lawsuit on October the 2nd in federal court in Charlotte, claiming NASCAR's actions violate antitrust laws. The story will be updated with the latest developments and analysis in the case. Information comes from documents filed in the case and through the conversations with those knowledgeable on antitrust issues and NASCAR racing. What's the latest that's happening in the suit? July 14 update. In a last-ditch effort to remain chartered as they face going into this weekend's race at Dover as open teams, 2311 and Front Row Motorsports filed a motion Monday for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction. Again, I want to restate this, in a last-ditch effort to remain chartered. Their current injunction expires Wednesday after it was overturned by the U.S. Court of Appeals last month. That injunction was placed in District Court Judge Kenneth Bell's ruling that the charter agreement clause agreeing not to sue NASCAR violated antitrust law, and therefore teams had a likelihood of prevailing in the lawsuit. The teams in their filing in Bell's court said evidence gathered from discovery shows they would prevail on other grounds, and they argued that they faced potential immediate harm because NASCAR sent them a letter that they would start to unwind the purchase of a charter each bought from Stewart-Haas Racing. New information surfaced through the discovery process that overwhelmingly supports our position in the preliminary injunction. In the preliminary is legally warranted and necessary. This is what I read earlier. There is no threat of the 2311 or FRM teams from making the field at Dover, as there won't be more than 40 entries, but they would earn less than a third of what they would get as open teams. Whether any races in the future would have more than 40 entries remains to be seen. NASCAR, I read NASCAR's statement already. And that's true. I read somewhere else along the line that Bubba Wallace might not have made it in Chicago because there were 41 teams or 41 cars vying for those positions, and that Bubba Wallace might have been the car that would not have made it. Now, there's a lot being said here that I think is confusing what is actually happening. What I like about this particular article is that Bob Pockris has included the court documents so that we see exactly what is being said in these cases. But here it says, in hopes and trying to increase revenues and influence the NASCAR Cup Series teams, they filed this lawsuit against NASCAR and Chairman Jim France. I think they've been told that their lawsuit, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say, I'm not going to sign this because I don't want to be a part of the charter system, and then come back and claim that you want to get the charter benefits without signing that document. And that's what the other 13 teams did. They said it's not perfect. They understand that when you negotiate a contract, I don't care what contract it is, there is give and take. What 2311 and Front Row Motorsports are saying is that we're going to have it our way regardless, and they refuse to sit at the table and negotiate and find the compromise. And so NASCAR has said there are some things that are non-negotiable, and I think having permanent charters is a reasonable, non-negotiable question on that table. So yes, they're not getting their way on that particular point, and so they made a choice, and their choice was to not sign that agreement. 13 other teams did agree to sign it. They are entitled to those benefits. The teams that did not sign those charters are not entitled to those benefits. That's plain and simple. It's black and white. You chose not to sign the charter. You are not entitled to those benefits. Those charters go back to NASCAR as a result of their choices, and they have every right to proceed with selling those charters. Now, that's what they're going to talk about in court this week. And they are trying to get those through. They have twice been told that they are not entitled to those benefits. They are trying for a third time now to have the same case heard for the third time. And they were told originally, they went and got a temporary injunction from one judge. They had a 3-judge panel that told them that they were not entitled. And now they're going back again for a third time. So I think that it's pretty black and white here. It is legalese that they're trying to use to get the benefits for a charter they did not sign. It's as plain and it's as simple as that. So I don't think, we'll see what happens with this next injunction. It's going to be interesting, but I think that we're getting confused with what this is about and what the antitrust lawsuit is about. And Jay, I'm going to go to you next.
Well, there's a couple of things I do agree with you, Chris, on, and that's that, unfortunately, the intent was good with the charter system for teams that were getting out and having something of value to sell off or get some money back or whatnot. As with most things, and I don't want to go too deep into this, man screws it up. There were some, you use the word manipulations in leasing them out and exchanging them and swapping them between teams of their own teams and other teams. You're 100% right. That's what messed this all up, in my opinion, of that. And I think NASCAR should have put a halt to that from the get-go. And I said that from day one when they started doing that, of they're technically not breaking a rule, but they're totally manipulating it. And that was a very good word. I think there is a better way to go about it, of rewarding teams. Like I said, I don't care if you're paying the guy that didn't qualify a little bit more than somebody that made the race because they're a regular team, chartered or whatever, if you will. But if they aren't fast enough, don't make the field, they don't make it. So honestly, I do think that the whole charter thing does need to go away. However,
and NASCAR said they will take it away.
That was a possibility. Yes. I also want to go back and say when they initially said you guys aren't chartered teams, that they weren't. The intent was not to sell them to other teams. They were going to go with 32 charter teams, 8 open spots. The extra money from those charters was going to be dispersed amongst the 32 that did sign the charter. So nowhere have I seen NASCAR make any kind of statement that they were going to sell those charters. They said they had a plan in place when the season started and the lawsuit came about, that their intent was to give money to the other 32 teams and run 8 open spots. That is the only on-record statement that's been made by NASCAR as far as that. So I'll be interested to see what they bring forth as this new evidence.
How many years do these have? I mean, I've watched the Denny Hamlin podcast, Actions Detrimental, and he said that they had evidence that NASCAR was going to repossess these charters and resell them. Now, they didn't say specifically when they were going to resell them, but I think just the language in itself tells the tale of what and who really owns the charter. And it's sometimes like a poker face where you've given away your hand because you think that you've got this thing won. I have been in a courtroom before with somebody who was arrogant to believe that they were going to win the case no matter what. And in the end, we smiled and went our separate ways after we won the case. So, it's this arrogance at the table. Of course, they're wondering why 2311 hasn't settled with them, because NASCAR refuses to remove the language that was added into the charter system after the purchase of the other 2 charters. So we're really only talking about 4 charters here, because there's 2 other charters that are somehow Stewart-Haas Racing's, but then they're not going back to Stewart-Haas. They're going to go to NASCAR. Well, how does NASCAR sell charters when they were giving them away in the beginning? How are they able to repossess something and then resell it when it was given away in the first place? These companies bought and paid for 2 charters. Front Row, I think, had 1 charter. Maybe they were able to have 2 in the beginning, but they're another team that actually did some flipping with charters and wound up paying for 1 again after they already sold one. That made no sense because they won 1 in a courtroom earlier. Maybe that's their whole reason behind this. All I want to know is why the language was changed from the first charter agreement to this charter agreement. Why was the language changed that allowed 2311 and Front Row to say, wait a minute, we don't like this new clause that's been added in, especially after we've already purchased said charters? When NASCAR,
what was the language that was changed, Chris?
They can
tell
take
me what
those charters away.
What was the language that was changed?
That you couldn't sue NASCAR. What the antitrust lawsuit is over. This is a 3rd appeal for an injunction. This is a 3rd appeal for an injunction that's going on now. And the reason why it's a 3rd appeal is because NASCAR showed their hand beforehand and said, look, we're going to repossess these charters and we're going to sell them. That is
that is not what they said.
Denny
Number
Hamlin
1,
and Michael Jordan and Curtis Polk have said, wait a darn minute. How are you going to repossess our charters and sell them when we could win this lawsuit? And then where would we get our charters from? So and look, I'm not saying that NASCAR didn't say when or where they were going to sell them. I'm saying this is the evidence that they are turning in for a 3rd appeal for the injunction. Whether or not they win the injunction, who knows? It's up to the panel to get this figured out. But the reason for the new evidence is because NASCAR sent paperwork to Denny Hamlin, to 2311, and said, look, we are going to repossess your charters and we're going to sell them. As it was said on SiriusXM, lawyers will say big things in order to scare you, to get you to come to the table. That may be all this is, but that is the reason for the 3rd appeal for the injunction.
Okay, here's what they said. Okay. And this is from the documents. Moreover, if plaintiffs lose their charter rights, they may never be able to get them back. After the 4th Circuit's decision vacating the preliminary injunction, NASCAR counsel sent a letter to the plaintiffs on June 25th of 2025, stating that NASCAR intended to immediately undertake a process to sell or unwind the 2311 and Front Row charters that plaintiffs purchased from Stewart-Haas Racing. Letter from C. Yates to J. Kessler, June 25th of 2025. NASCAR stated that it is aware of interest from multiple prospective buyers for the charters. These potential buyers would also be a threat to obtained plaintiffs' other charter rights if plaintiffs are forced to relinquish them, putting plaintiffs' entire future at risk, as they cannot race as open teams on a long-term basis. Now, here's the thing. That's a letter that was sent from NASCAR to them after one of the injunctions. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like a negotiation letter for sure. That sounds like an olive branch. Hey, we're going to repossess and we're going to resell. That's an olive branch for sure.
They also made multiple requests, as I read earlier, to sit down with 2311. And they made multiple requests to sit down with 2311, and none of those requests, there was no response from 2311 or Front Row Racing before that letter was sent. Okay? So, because they did not come to the table as requested, NASCAR sent this letter. Okay? And here's the thing.
Why are they not allowed to sell the charters that they bought? Because they've been repossessed by NASCAR. Correct?
Well, if you're right, maybe this is what's going to happen, and that's part of the conversation. But here's the thing. Do you know that was in the original document? And you know what? If you don't sign an agreement, I'll go back to Jay's original thing. If you don't sign the lease, why would you get the chance to sell that lease later? You chose not to sign that lease, right? So that you're not going to get the opportunity. Okay, it doesn't matter.
They thought that they were purchasing something, and now it's been changed that they didn't purchase anything. They were leasing something. So
if you don't sign the charter agreement,
if I tell you I bought a vehicle, but in reality I leased the vehicle, then I lied to you.
But here's the thing. If you are given a charter and you choose not to sign that charter agreement, you no longer own that charter.
But I bought the charter before you decided to change the language in it.
The charter expired in 2024. When they bought it, they knew the two they had, as well as the new one they were buying, all of it ended at 2024, and a new lease was going to come out. Whether they agreed with that or not, they chose to buy that one so that nobody else could. Now they're going to say, huh?
Go ahead, Jay.
I didn't hear what Chris said.
I said I agree. I know,
okay.
Right? I mean, I understand the whole complex of this situation. I just wonder if other people actually understand how the legal system actually works.
I mean, there again, that lease runs out. Just like if I take over somebody's lease on a car or an apartment, that lease is eventually going to run out. It is only mine until it runs out. And then I have to make my own. I have to choose to sign a new one. And they chose not to, but want the rights and benefits that come with it. That's what's killing me. They had the option. They said, no, we don't want that. Oh, by the way, we want the benefits of it. We just don't want to sign and agree to it. Then you don't. I mean, it's simple to me.
It's black and white.
Yeah, that concept it blows my mind. I will be interested to see if they produce evidence of, again, from what I know, that NASCAR, again, if somebody isn't using those charters, whether they take them back, they walk away, whatever it be,
well,
NASCAR's got to do something with them.
Rewind. It says wait a minute. It says sell or rewind. NASCAR has already been on record to say that they may discontinue the entire charter system. Now, that may be a problem down the road if they decide to do that, but they may unwind those charters versus selling them if that's their intent down the road. So they have to leave those options open for themselves at this stage. But 2311 and Front Row Motorsports already made their choice to not sign the agreement. And so they no longer have a charter. Period.
I
When
do
you
have
don't sign that agreement, you no longer have that charter. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, Chris, and I understand what Chris is asking about how NASCAR gets money out of this. And I think that's where that unwind those charter sales. So 2311, we'll start with that one, the one for Riley Herbst. They bought from SHR. There were other people that were interested in that one. So they say, okay, 2311, you no longer have a charter. To me, and I may be way off base here, but unwind that means you can't have it because you didn't sign the charter and the courts agree, whatever law. We'll sell it, but that money will go to 2311. You get your money back. SHR, whatever is paid for the charter now goes to SHR from, and I'll just use Roush Fenway Keselowski of that. So we'll give.
It does say sell or.
Well,
or is
but that
the key word there.
Right. And that's where, but it doesn't clarify what the unwind means. What I'm saying is 2311 paid $25 million for that. Okay. RFK, you give up $25 million, you're going to get a charter. It's going to come from 2311, but the money's going to go to Stewart-Haas Racing. Then Stewart-Haas Racing has to give $25 million back to 2311 because they didn't.
Go ahead.
Right now, Stewart-Haas Racing got $25 million, and I'm using numbers I'm making up, but X amount from 2311. 2311 isn't allowed to have that charter. So they say, okay. They say, we want our money back then. So Stewart-Haas Racing gives back the $25 million. NASCAR now has the charter, and they sell it to RFK for $25 million. Okay. That money now goes to Stewart-Haas Racing. Basically, everybody, it's going to reverse like instead of. Right. And I'm glad you brought that up because, again, NASCAR said you may or may not win this come December 1st. We're paying you as a charter team because that's what the first court ordered. But we're saying we may win this lawsuit. Put that money in a slush fund. If you are a non-chartered team, we may put that money in that escrow account or slush fund. And if you win the lawsuit, we have that money available. 2311 wouldn't agree to that either. Everything NASCAR has pitched, they have not agreed to work with them. Yet Denny Hamlin says we're willing to negotiate.
But they don't. They do not. So, okay. Anything more?
Yeah, if NASCAR wins this lawsuit, charters should be absolutely worth nothing, and you shouldn't pay anything for them. You should be able to just give them away. If 2311 and Front Row Motorsports wins this lawsuit, then that means that there is a significant. Who the heck is going to spend $100 million+ on something that they won't even own? You might as well just start up a race team, a dirt late model race team, if you're going to throw that kind of money out the window. There's more ways to waste $100 million than on a NASCAR team for some charters that you don't even own. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense at all to say I'm going to pay $150+ million to have a franchise right that can be revoked at any point in time that NASCAR says we don't think that these are either we don't think that they're needed anymore in the sport or whatever.
Show me where it says it can be revoked at any time.
At their discretion, and then they tell you can't.
Where does it say that? Show me where it says that.
The antitrust law says that because they say that you cannot sue
Show me where the antitrust law says that. Show that to me.
I can't do that for you. I have to tell you.
Well, then don't say it. If you can't show me that,
it's saying
then you're
that no
giving
teams
false
can sue
information.
NASCAR.
You're
How are
giving
you
me
going to
false
sue
information.
to make sure that you
cannot
are given a
show
fair
that
fight?
to me.
If you're
That would not fly in court, Chris. The judge wants to see it in writing.
It may not buy in court, but I'm not going to buy $100 million charter that ain't mine.
Be careful what you're saying. You don't want to be putting misinformation out there.
The only thing it says as far as NASCAR taking a charter is if you finish in the bottom 3 in the point standings for 3 consecutive years, then it can look into taking the charter from you. And they haven't even done that. They've allowed these teams to manipulate and get away with it.
Exactly. I can penalize you to false end to make sure that you're in that low top 35. Remember Days of Thunder?
So now we're back to they're determining who wins a race.
We're talking movie
Japanese
scenarios.
Inspection. Huh?
We're talking movie scenarios now, right?
I mean, they say it actually happened. A Japanese inspection where they wait until their cabin.
Show me where it actually happened. Show me where it actually happened, Chris.
Look, they say that they can revoke them. I'm not going to sit here and continue on the same.
Well, Jay told you where they said that can be revoked if you're running in the bottom 3. So if there's any other statements you need to show me.
Well, of course, with the whole top half is controlled by Hendrick and Joe Gibbs, right? Because they've got 8 total charters to everybody else's 3 or 2. So I mean, you're not going to be finishing in the top 10 more than likely. You're going to be finishing somewhere 16th to 35th. I don't think we're ever going to agree on this topic. I think one thing where this committee can come together and agree on something is that we need to get rid of the charters. I think that is something that is a true agreement amongst us 3 is the charter system's a joke. It only creates more problems. And we can see the problem that's coming up with the next issue that we need to jump to real quick. And that's the Legacy Motor Club and the Rick Ware Racing Charter Agreement.
We'll talk about that.
Somewhere or another, Jimmy Johnson is claiming that if that charter is going to go anywhere, it needs to go to him because obviously they were in the moves to sell that charter and they wound up being able to get a better deal if they had 2. So they reneged on everything that they said.
Chris, let me ask you this. The charters are a joke.
Let's get rid of them. Let's agree on that.
I've asked you this before. I'm going to ask you again. Have you read the court documents?
Yes, of course.
Then where are you coming up with all this stuff? Because you need to read the court documents.
I mean, I just made it up. That's I watch I listen and I read tons of comments and I read tons of other things. And
some of those comments are misleading. It would benefit you to read the court documents. So I'm just encouraging you to do that.
Hey, Bogey.
Okay, Jay, do you want to start out with the piece on Legacy Motor Club and their charter?
No, I want to go to have a cigarette and go to bed. That one, I honestly, at this point, again, we're going to have to wait and see. It's going to be a matter of who said what and what's documented. From my understanding, Rick Ware Racing, and I didn't know this. I thought it was a 1-year deal. So, well, again, this one's so. Per the charter system, you can only lease a charter for 1 year. However, Rick Ware Racing has 2. So they lease it to RFK for Ryan Priest for 1 year. They get it back. They swap that with the other one and then lease the other one to RFK for 1 year. Get it back. After 2027, they would have 2 of them back. So that's where they're saying we didn't agree to sell it until after 2027. Now, whether they agreed to sell one at that point, and now TJ Pusher, if I'm pronouncing that right, Pusher, Pusher, is coming in saying, I want to buy RWR, and I'm not agreeing to that or whatever else. Again, we're not even talking about racing. We're talking about legal issues and who made what deal. Yeah, I've only had 1 cigarette today, so I'm ticking. I'm down to 2 a day, though. That's awesome. We're going to talk about something positive. 2 a day.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, I don't have much on this one. It's going to have to play out. I'm with Legacy. I think that they have a close chance at maybe winning this case, because obviously there was an intent to sell. And if it's proven that they just found out that they were going to get a better deal from somebody else, then they are the ones who created the indifference and, reneging on a sale and basically saying that they're not going to go through with something because they had a better deal. I do think that is illegal, right? You can't make a contract to sell to somebody and then wind up selling to somebody else while you're under that contract. If I'm not mistaken, that's kind of another legal move that I don't think is. But I would like to see some literature on how that rolls out. I haven't read that literature, but I have read the other literature, and I don't know if we'll ever come to an agreement. I think that's probably why it's in a lawsuit, is because there's two sides that feel firmly that they are right, and that's why this lawsuit's gone on. As for this lawsuit that we're talking about with Legacy and Rick Ware, who knows? I think the victim here is RFK. What if they lose that charter and the ability to lease that other charter? It just gets really confusing all over some charter nonsense that we all.
There again, though, when they did it, they knew, and I really thought it was for only 1 year. It might have been that they could get away with it for 2 through manipulation of the rules. But I
thought it was just for 1 year. Yeah.
But like I said, if RWR has 2, they lease the charter of the number 51 to RFK. When they get it back, they swap that over to, and I can't think of what their other car number is. Sometimes it's Randy LaJoy with that 01. They swap that and then technically lease the 01 to RFK for that second year. Either way, whether it was a 1 year or 2 year, when RFK did that, they knew that was a temporary thing, 1 or 2 years. That's why they were interested in buying Stewart-Haas's Racing's charter to guarantee Ryan Preece. They knew that for a year or 2, maybe, that Ryan Preece was good. After that, they would have to do something else. And it so happened that at that time, Stewart-Haas Racing said, we're getting out. That's why RFK had interest in it, was to back up what they had as a temporary basis for Ryan Preece in the number 60.
Okay. I believe that was a 1 year deal. Here's one of the things. Here was another thing. This was from a Jeff Gluck post. In the filing, teams say NASCAR has indicated it has willing applicants for plaintiff's charter rights, and NASCAR intends to immediately reallocate or sell plaintiff's charters if they become available. So that's one of the things. I'm trying to find information on the Legacy Motor Club thing. I'm pretty sure.
I know the article Chris shared was on J-Ski, I believe.
Oh, did Chris share an article? I didn't get that.
Yeah, that came earlier today.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't that on the RWR one, Chris?
Yes. It's not the car, the tire.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, I thought I had seen that as I was coming home.
Yeah. Got J-Ski and Legacy on Monday, asked for and was granted the right.
A virtual hearing, yeah.
To dispose to RWR over the recent revelation that TJ Pusher, one of the founders of Spire Motorsports, plans to purchase the race team. Legacy contends if Ware is selling the team, then one of the charters should be transferred to its organization, because that's what they agreed to. They were backing out of a purchase, supposedly because they were not going to sell. And then they turned around and sold to somebody else. So what that says is they took a chance and was going to make more money off of the second sale than what they were originally pushing for the first one. I don't have much legal dispo on this certain situation. It is kind of a fly-by-ear thing. Like I said, I don't think much literature has actually been put out over this. It kind of caught us all by surprise, because we had forgotten about this little brush up between Rick Ware Racing and Legacy. But it definitely opens the door to say then maybe somebody did some illegal activity when they proposed to sell to one person and then wound up selling to somebody completely different. It is somewhere where once you make the announcement that you're going to sell, you can't sell to anybody else, and I feel like that's probably the specific ruling that they're looking for in this situation.
Here's where I think the complication, though, and this is based on my limited understanding. You're talking about selling a product, the charter, to said team. RWR is going to supposedly sell it to Legacy, but then somebody else comes in and buys the whole company or organization of RWR and says, okay, no, I'm the new owner of the company and I don't want to. What legal right is there? I don't know. I mean, if you're buying a company, I would think you would have to adhere to all the agreements they made. You can't just say, well, I didn't make them and I'm the new owner, but I don't know that from a legal standpoint. But that's how I see it.
Yeah, sometimes companies can come in and buy other companies and not realize the amount of debt that company
right, exactly. You're still responsible then, I would think, but
right. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out based off of the legitimacy of TJ Pusher when that deal was made versus when the supposed deal. Maybe the reason why they wanted to move in this speculation, but I could see where the original argument was Legacy wanted to take this over in 2026, but if they're switch swapping with RFK on what charter it was, they may have agreed to buy a charter that wasn't necessarily even available at the time, which would once again put it back into the court of Legacy because you didn't have your proper stuff together when you were attempting to sell something. Like I said, we need the legal work behind this one so much as we do on the other one as well. But it's this is a wait and see situation. It's definitely got me intrigued. I want to see how all this plays out and whether or not the 2311 lawsuit has any significance with this lawsuit. Because look, if 2311 and Front Row Motorsports lose their charters, then NASCAR has some available that would get everybody out of this hole. So maybe that's what NASCAR's counting on in the end is that, hey, we're going to own 4 new charters, possibly 6 new charters, and everybody that's needing one will be able to get it at a low cost.
If you
crazy is if there was still asking prices of $50 to $100 million for these charters once NASCAR repossesses.
Well, the one for Legacy was supposed to be at $45 million.
If you read the last line of this, and it came from the Associated Press, it says Legacy also argued that Ware did not disclose he was entering into a sales agreement with a third party, Pusher, who is now a consultant and brokered the initial lease deal between RWR and Legacy back in an April hearing. The judge in the case warned that RWR could be in contempt of court if it misrepresented its intentions in the first hearing. So, yeah, this one doesn't look like it's favoring RWR, but...
Wow. Which would put the whole $100 million deal into jeopardy. I hope Rick didn't go cash that check yet. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
The smartest man in NASCAR. Huh?
It was for the 2026 season, too. That's the other thing. It was not for this season. It was for next season that they were supposed to get that charter.
Right.
But that's where RWR says it wasn't until 2027.
Yeah, which could be where they lied, and that'll be figured out in court whether or not they just changed it to 2027 to try to get out of the sale because they knew that TJ Pusher was coming in and offering $100 million for both charters. So, yeah, sometimes it's just best to stick to your guns and do what you say you're going to do, especially when you're, in transferring legal documents such as this charter system. Obviously, it's a legal document of some kind, or else it wouldn't be so much fuss in the courts right now over it. So, This it's just, I don't know. This case itself really aggravates me. It aggravates my co-peers. When we discuss this, we all get aggravated and ill because we don't have a compromise. That's why, you know what? If you ever want to feel American, that's when you should feel the most American. When we don't agree and we can still be friends. That's American. That's American. We're true, warm-blooded Americans because we don't agree, but we can still be friends.
Okay. Are we ready to move on? Because I was trying to find something, and I can't.
What are you laughing at, Jay? You're not really my friend, are you?
I am your friend. I don't know if I'm an American now, though. All of a sudden, I'd be like, I got to check those qualifications. I thought I was an American because I was born here, but somebody else might take that away too, and I'm going to go to bed. That's what I'm going to do.
One more subject, and I think you want to be a part of this. Ram is planning to do a tryouts reality show. So they're going to do a reality show that shows drivers trying out to be part of the Ram manufacturing team for when they come into the truck series. What are your guys' thoughts about that?
Now you guys, yes, cat's tail is there. You guys know where I'm going to go on this. If they do it, I'm all for it. Promotion, I get it. But it's probably going to be on some streaming device that I ain't paying $9.95 for a month. And what? Yeah, so I knew that'd get you, Sharon. More than likely, it's going to be somewhere where I'm not going to get to see it because I'm not paying for the streaming devices. So,
well, do the free trial for however long.
Well, yeah. I got hosed on that. I forgot to cancel them, so I got them. I know.
You even told me you were going to cancel.
I know. It'll be all right. But no, I'm all for the program. And again, just because I don't get to watch it, I choose not to subscribe to those things. So I can't complain that I don't get to see them and ask them to show them to me anyway. I really need to go to bed. I'm going to get really ugly here. So, but no, I mean, I'm all for it. And like I said, if it's on a platform I don't subscribe to, that's my choice. I mean, that's a legit statement. These things, all the stuff that was pre-race and whatnot on Amazon Prime, I get it. I can't complain I don't get to see it because I choose not to move into the future of streaming and whatnot. That's my choice, and I'm okay with that. But I do hope. I'm still excited about Ram, so yeah, I'm all for whatever promotion they do and the drivers they get. It's going to be interesting. I'm trying to contain my excitement of seeing what they bring to the track.
Okay, Chris?
If it's NASCAR and it creates content, you darn well I'm in for it.
Okay, I think we all agree.
We're
looking forward to the reality show of the tryouts. It kind of reminds me of when Michael Waltrip did the Peak Dream Challenge, that Patrick Staropoli was one of the recipients of that one. And they did that on live TV as well.
See, I go back to the Roush, what was it, the Gong Show? Because Roush, at that time it was just Roush Racing, but they had one similar to that because that's where Kurt Busch and some of them initially got their start. Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch, those guys. So yeah, I'm all for it. Again, what was it? A couple that they had on TV. It wasn't NASCAR Wives, but some of the ones I saw bits and pieces of, Joey Logano, where they'd follow drivers around. I know they did the playoff ones. That was all on Netflix, and I don't have that. So, but I'm all for it because I know that there are people out there. And again, if that brings in more fans and more sponsors and everything else for the sport, I'm all for it. I just won't subscribe to it.
Okay. And it might be on live TV. It might be on the CW or TNT or something like that. Who knows? Anyway, I'm all for it as well, but I think we're all kind of spent. So let's go around the horn here and do our sign-offs. Chris?
You can find us at Yellow Caution Flag, Chris Creighton on Facebook, Flag of Caution, on Twitter and TikTok. You can find us every other Saturday night at the House of Hook in Why Not, Mississippi. I'm the lead announcer at Why Not Motorsports Park. We'll have the Mississippi State Championship Challenge Series Super late models.
Sweet.
At the House of Hook this weekend, an 800 horsepower ground pounding thrust of steel will invade the high banks of our quarter-mile racetrack, and I hope that anybody that doesn't get to be there for the live event will wait for the video to pop up on that Why Not Kid, as he'll be able to produce that and have it out sometime midweek next week. So, like Rodney Wing says, be there.
Jay?
Yeah, Chris, if you hang around after we end this, I got a couple questions for you on that. Trying to think who said they were down there and ran into you. Somebody was giving you props, and I can't think of who, but somebody that had been there the week before and was at Jackson Saturday. I can't think of who it was, said they got to meet you. But anyway, where Jackson is off this week as they run the late models, we'll be back with the Hot Shot Shootout in 2 weeks. The 4 cylinders of Fury there at Jackson Motor Speedway. So that's the 5th annual there. And so I may be down to see Chris. I don't think I got anything going. I don't even know what I'm doing Monday and Tuesday. That's tonight and tomorrow. I'll figure that out in a minute. But you can follow me on Facebook, Michael Hoosman, Mopar MJ8, on Twitter and Instagram. Not on Twitter necessarily a whole lot. I didn't even respond when Chris was going with that. I'm glad you enjoy it. Again, it's not something I enjoy, so I'm not on there a whole lot, but I do have a handle on there.
Okay,
there's the kitty.
Fan4Racing site on Twitter, and Fan4Racing blog and radio on Facebook, as well as our website, fan4racing.com. And I am definitely looking forward to the races this weekend at Dover and round 4 of the in-season challenge. And I have really enjoyed that for the TNT portion of our coverage on of NASCAR racing. So I'll be watching the races this weekend and looking forward to our reviews next Monday night, as well as our next Hot Topic Sound Off conversation, because unfortunately I think we'll have more conversations with regard to what happens with this lawsuit. Keep your eyes on Wednesday.
Yeah. We will, one way or another, we will.
There is going to be more news probably on Wednesday or Thursday with regard to this. So keep your eyes to social media and the news outlets for more information there. So with that, guys, I really enjoy doing the Hot Topics with you guys. I do want to say watch for more. We have all of our reviews up for tonight. Before the show, Jay and I will be back to do previews for Dover. We have 3 races this weekend with the ARCA Menard Series and ARCA East racing at Dover, as well as the Xfinity and Cup Series. And we'll be talking about that. On Friday, we'll be doing the in-season round 4 challenge with Taz and Jay, and I can't wait for that as well. So thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate you. And I really appreciated All Sports All Day chiming in with his thoughts and interacting with us. We want this to be an interactive show. So thanks for helping us make that happen. And we hope more will join in. As
well as our other, what do we got? 72 subscribers now, I noticed there. So
yes, yeah. 72 subscribers. So thank you so much for subscribing. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys during the preview videos, I mean.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.